Brown versus refs. Jaylen Brown didn't hold back after the Boston Celtics lost Game 7 to the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round of the 2026 playoffs. Instead of giving a calm post-game press conference, Brown went live on Twitch and just let it all out. He claimed referees had an agenda against him throughout the entire series, and he wasn't vague about it either. He specifically focused on offensive foul calls, saying officials were targeting him because he'd criticized referees earlier in the season. He said they entered games already expecting to whistle him for offensive fouls whenever he raised his arm while driving. And here's the wild part. The numbers actually backed him up a little. Brown led the entire first round in offensive fouls called against him with 10. He also finished second in the whole NBA during the regular season in offensive fouls, committed with 40. The context made everything even heavier because Boston had just blown a 3-1 series lead against Philadelphia, becoming the first number 2 seed in more than 2 decades to lose a series after leading 3-1 against a number 7 seed. Brown's comments spread everywhere because they weren't said in a press conference. Viewers watched an all-star openly vent in real time. He also brought up Joel Embiid specifically and called out flopping as a major issue in the league. The NBA didn't let it slide either. Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations, James Jones, announced Brown was fined $50,000 for public criticism of officiating. That's a rough end to a rough series. Heat name. Before the Miami Heat ever played a single game, the organization did something you'd never expect a professional sports franchise to do. They let the public name the team. This happened during the mid-1980s, after Miami was awarded an NBA expansion franchise. Instead of coming up with a name internally, ownership opened submissions to the public and received more than 20,000 entries from fans across South Florida. The names that came in were all over the place. People submitted Heat, Sharks, Barracudas, Beaches, Tropics, Juice, and even Miami Vice. That last one makes total sense because the television show Miami Vice was absolutely exploding in popularity during the 1980s and had become one of the biggest symbols of the city itself. Eventually, the organization narrowed everything down and selected Heat as the official winner. A woman named Stephanie Freed submitted the winning entry. The reason Heat stood out was because it connected to multiple parts of Miami's identity all at once. The actual Florida weather, the city's nightlife, the tropical atmosphere, the flashy culture of the era, and the energy the franchise wanted to represent. What makes the story I feel surreal in hindsight is imagining the Heat being called something completely different. There was a real chance this franchise could have entered the league as the Miami Sharks, the Miami Tropics, or the Miami Juice. Instead, Heat won the contest and eventually became attached to players like Wade, LeBron James, Shaq, and Alonzo Mourning. But it all started with a public naming competition, Ray before Allen. This one genuinely sounds made up until you look it up. During the 2006 to 2007 season, the Boston Celtics had a player on their roster named Allen Ray. Then literally 1 year later, Boston traded for Ray Allen. Allen Ray, Ray Allen, back-to-back seasons, both shooting guards, both connected to the Celtics. What makes it stranger is that Allen Ray wasn't some recognizable name. He was an undrafted free agent out of Villanova who got an opportunity with Boston after going undrafted in 2006. He actually earned real minutes because the Celtics were dealing with injuries and roster instability at the time. Boston was nowhere near the championship super team people remember from later on. During stretches of that season, Allen Ray received meaningful playing time and had multiple 20-plus point performances. He appeared in 47 games for Boston and showed legitimate shooting ability, even finishing among rookie leaders in three-point percentage. Then the timing happened. After the season, Allen Ray left for a contract in Italy. Shortly afterward, the Celtics pulled off the blockbuster trade that brought Ray Allen to Boston and changed franchise history completely. So technically, Boston had Allen Ray and then replaced him with Ray Allen almost immediately. It's one of those random NBA trivia facts that sounds backwards the first time you hear it. And it only got more unbelievable later because Ray Allen went on to help win the 2008 NBA championship, break the all-time three-point record, and become one of the greatest shooters ever. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Robinson Fine, Mitchell Robinson, and Dyson Daniels turned Game 6 of the 2026 Knicks and Hawks first-round playoff series into one of the strangest stories of the entire postseason. New York was already destroying Atlanta on the scoreboard, eventually winning 140-89, which became the largest playoff victory in Knicks franchise history. At one point, the Knicks went on a 63-11 run. Atlanta trailed by 47 points at halftime. The game was completely over before the fight even started. The altercation began during a free throw with under 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Dyson Daniels grabbed and yanked Robinson's arm during a box-out battle underneath the basket. Robinson instantly got into Daniels' face. Onyeka Okongwu tried pulling Robinson away. Multiple players rushed in. Coaches sprinted off the bench. Knicks coach Mike Brown physically fell to the floor trying to stop Robinson. Referee Kevin Scott was also knocked down during the chaos. Both Robinson and Daniels received technical fouls and were ejected. Then the story somehow got stranger. The NBA fined Robinson $50,000 and Daniels $25,000. Robinson's fine was higher because the league stated he made an inappropriate post on social media after the game, specifically a vulgar trolling video aimed at Daniels on his Instagram story. Around the same time, Robinson also posted messages saying he felt lost in the world and that his mental wasn't the same. So within hours, he was ejected, fined, posting online, and talking about emotional struggles publicly, all during a 51-point blowout. Morris versus Jokic. Nikola Jokic versus Markieff Morris became one of the most replayed altercations of the 2020s because of how fast and how violently everything escalated. It happened on November 8, 2021, during a Nuggets versus Heat game in Denver. Late in the fourth quarter, Morris committed a hard take, foul, near half court, stepping directly into Jokic's side and delivering a strong body check. What made the moment so shocking was how fast Jokic retaliated. As Morris turned away assuming the play was done, Jokic took multiple steps forward and drove his right forearm and shoulder directly into Morris from behind with full force. The shove launched Morris forward violently onto the court. Jokic, at that point, was the reigning most valuable player and known entirely for his passing, efficiency, and calm demeanor. Seeing him explode like that completely stunned the arena. Heat players rushed toward Jokic. Nuggets players sprinted back. A stretcher was actually brought onto the court because Morris stayed down for an extended period after crashing onto the hardwood. He eventually walked off on his own, but that visual became one of the defining images from the incident. The NBA responded quickly. Jokic received a 1-game suspension without pay. Morris was fined $50,000 for the flagrant 2 foul that started everything. Jimmy Butler was also fined for attempting to escalate the situation afterward. The Morris twins already had a tough reputation around the league, and Jokic's brothers were known for their intensity, so both families started publicly responding online. The aftermath lasted for months. Bell's palsy. Joel Embiid revealed he'd been diagnosed with Bell's palsy during Philadelphia's first-round playoff series against the Knicks in 2024. And the timing of that announcement was almost unbelievable. He revealed the diagnosis immediately after scoring 50 points against New York in Game 3, 50 points, while dealing with visible facial paralysis. Bell's palsy is a neurological condition involving weakness or partial paralysis in facial muscles, and viewers had already started noticing something unusual about Embiid's face during games and interviews before he said anything publicly. One side appeared weaker. His blinking looked uneven. Certain facial movements seemed delayed. Then he dropped 50 and finally explained what was going on. The statistical details from that game were genuinely historic. Embiid scored 50 points while taking fewer than 20 field goal attempts, becoming the first player in NBA history to hit 50 in a playoff game on fewer than 20 attempts. He made 19 free throws and hit 5 3-pointers. It was also the first 50-point game of the entire 2024 playoffs. What made the story even more layered was that Bell's palsy wasn't his only physical problem. He'd already had knee surgery earlier in the year and was wearing a large brace while playing heavy playoff minutes. So fans were watching a center with knee problems, facial paralysis, visible discomfort, and historic offensive production all at the same time. The visual contradiction was genuinely surreal. Embiid's entire playoff career has involved orbital fractures, thumb injuries, meniscus issues, face masks, and now facial paralysis. He just keeps adding chapters. Perfect efficiency. On February 23rd, 2023, Miles Turner put up one of the strangest and most efficient scoring performances in NBA history against the Boston Celtics. Indiana and Boston went to overtime in a game that finished 142-138 in Boston's favor. But the real story became what Turner actually did that night. He finished with 40 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 block. He made 13 field goals on only 15 attempts, hit 8 3-pointers on 10 tries, and made 6 of 7 free throws. He only missed 2 total field goals in the entire game. His true shooting percentage that night was 110.6%, which became recognized as the most efficient 40-point game in NBA history. That number is hard to even process because true shooting percentage already accounts for the extra value of three-pointers and free throws. Elite scoring performances by superstars usually land somewhere between 60 and 80% on a great night. Going over 100% while scoring 40 is almost mathematically impossible. It means Turner generated more scoring value than the number of possessions he personally used. He also became the first center in NBA history to record 40-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, and 8-plus made threes in a single game. The only other players with similar three-point volume and scoring combinations were guards like Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, Damian Lillard, and James Harden. Turner, a rim-protecting shot blocker since 2015, suddenly had a place in that list for one night. Turnover victory. On February 15, 1974, the Los Angeles Lakers played the Seattle Supersonics and committed 43 turnovers, 43 in one game. That number is still tied near the top of the worst turnover totals in NBA history and remains the highest single-game turnover total in Lakers franchise history. And somehow, despite giving the ball away 43 times, Los Angeles still won the game by 16 points. Lakers 112, Sonics 96. To put that in modern context, NBA teams today average roughly 12 to 15 turnovers per game. Crossing 20 is usually considered terrible. Crossing 30 is catastrophic. 43 is in a completely different universe. The 1970s NBA was played at an extremely fast pace compared to the modern era, with teams pushing the ball constantly and possessions ending quickly, which created more opportunities for mistakes. But even in that environment, 43 turnovers was absurd. The Lakers roster that night included Gail Goodrich, Pat Riley, and Jim Price. While Jerry West was out because of injury, the game became a complete mess offensively. Possessions constantly ended with bad passes, steals, and ball handling mistakes. But Seattle couldn't capitalize enough to take the lead. Los Angeles still shot well enough to create separation despite the chaos, and the Sonics struggled to fully punish the mistakes. What makes the story so bizarre is the margin. This wasn't a one-possession escape or overtime survival. The Lakers won by 16 points, despite essentially handing Seattle free possessions all night. It's still one of the most contradictory box scores in basketball history. Staring, ejection. Rasheed Wallace built one of the most infamous reputations in NBA history when it came to technical fouls and arguing with officials. But one moment became legendary above all the others because of how unbelievable it sounds when explained out loud. Wallace was ejected from a game for staring at a referee. That's it. Just a stare. The incident happened during the 2000 Western Conference Finals when Wallace played for the Portland Trail Blazers against the Los Angeles Lakers. Referee Ron Garretson issued Wallace a technical foul because he believed Wallace's stare was intimidating. Reports say Wallace didn't say anything during the moment. The ejection instantly became one of the most replayed officiating moments ever because fans watching couldn't figure out what had even happened. Wallace already had a massive reputation with officials at the time. He argued constantly, reacted emotionally, and collected technical fouls at a historic rate. In the 2000 to 2001 season alone, he recorded 41 technical fouls, which broke his own NBA record, so officials were extremely alert whenever he showed any emotional reaction. According to accounts from the game, Wallace looked directly at the referee. The referee interpreted it as intimidation. A technical was issued. Wallace reacted, and then he was ejected. The sequence became one of the defining moments of his career. The timing made it worse because it happened in the Western Conference Finals against the Shaq and Kobe Bryant Lakers during one of the biggest playoff games of the year. An NBA player got thrown out of a conference finals game for looking at someone too hard. Brady versus Russ. One of the strangest cross-sport statistics ever circulated online compared Tom Brady's Super Bowl winning percentage to Russell Westbrook's career three-point percentage, and the numbers lined up in a way that genuinely didn't seem real. At the point when the stat first spread widely, Brady had won 5 Super Bowls in 15 NFL seasons as a starting quarterback, giving him a Super Bowl winning rate of .333. Westbrook's career three-point percentage around that same period sat near .308. So statistically, Brady winning the entire NFL championship in a given season was more likely than Westbrook making a single three-point shot attempt. The reason that comparison felt so absurd was the scale difference. Winning a Super Bowl requires surviving a full NFL season, earning playoff positioning, winning multiple playoff games, and then winning the championship itself. Making one three-pointer is a single shot, yet the percentages were nearly identical. The stat became even stranger as Brady's career kept going. He eventually finished with 7 Super Bowl victories across 23 NFL seasons, putting his final championship rate around .304. Westbrook's career three-point percentage has hovered in the low 30s for most of his NBA career. The two numbers stayed bizarrely close across years. Brady became the most decorated quarterback in NFL history. Westbrook won the 2017 NBA Most Valuable Player award and averaged a triple-double multiple times across different seasons. Yet one of the most memorable facts connecting both athletes involved a shooting percentage comparison nobody expected to work. Knicks triple-double. Karl Anthony Towns recording 2 triple-doubles in the same playoff series instantly became one of the strangest statistical stories of the 2026 postseason, and the reason it was so historic comes down to how rare Knicks playoff triple-doubles actually are. During New York's first-round series against Atlanta, Towns recorded his first triple-double in Game 4, finishing with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists in a 114-98 Knicks victory that tied the series at 2 games each. That made him just the 4th player in Knicks history to record a playoff triple-double. The 3 players before him were Walt Frazier, Dick McGuire, and Josh Hart. The Knicks have existed since the 1940s, and only 3 players in franchise history had ever done it before Towns arrived. Then he did it again in the same series. In Game 6, he recorded 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists during New York's 140-89 destruction of Atlanta. That second triple-double made Towns the first Knick ever to record 2 triple-doubles in the same playoff series. He also joined Walt Frazier as the only players in franchise history with multiple playoff triple-doubles overall. Patrick Ewing never did it. Carmelo Anthony never did it. Willis Reed never did it. Bernard King never did it. Towns also wasn't historically viewed as a triple-double player. His reputation throughout his Minnesota career was built around scoring efficiency and shooting range as a center. Then he arrived in New York and suddenly started rewriting the franchise record books in the first round. Generational longevity. Robert Parrish played against both John Havlicek and Kobe Bryant during his NBA career, and that fact alone tells you everything about how long he was actually in the league. Havlicek was drafted in 1962. Kobe Bryant was drafted in 1996. That's a 34-year gap between those 2 players' draft years. Parrish entered the NBA in 1976 after being selected 8th overall by the Golden State Warriors. During his rookie years, Havlicek was still finishing the final stretch of his legendary Celtics career. Parrish played against Havlicek before he retired in 1978. Then Parrish stayed in the league long enough to face rookie Kobe Bryant almost 20 years later. His final season came with the Chicago Bulls during their championship run in 1997, which was also Kobe's first season as a Laker. Parrish played 21 NBA seasons, which was the all-time record when he retired, and he appeared in over 1,600 regular season games across 4 NBA championships. The visual contrast between those 2 eras is what makes the story feel impossible. When Parrish first entered the league, there was no three-point line. Games were sometimes broadcast on tape delay, and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were still in college. By the time he played against Kobe, Michael Jordan had already won 6 championships. Teenagers were entering directly from high school, and the internet era had begun. Parrish was a living bridge between 2 completely different versions of basketball, connected on both ends to players who defined their generations. Wallace MVP votes. During the 2001 to 2002 NBA season, Ben Wallace finished 7th in Most Valuable Player voting, while averaging only 9.5 points per game. That stat is still one of the strangest outcomes in MVP voting history because almost every modern candidate is built around elite scoring. Wallace's full averages that season were 9.5 points, 13.0 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 3.5 blocks, and 1.7 steals. He shot 46.1% from the field and averaged under 10 points. Yet voters still placed him above multiple star scorers in the ballot. The reason was defense. Wallace completely transformed the Detroit Pistons into one of the NBA's most dominant defensive teams. Detroit finished first in defensive rating and second in points allowed that season, finishing with 50 wins. Wallace won Defensive Player of the Year and established himself as arguably the most feared defender in the league. The weirdness comes from how rare that profile is in Most Valuable Player history. Most candidates are 30-point scorers and offensive engine. Wallace was basically the opposite. He had almost no post moves compared to elite bigs of the era and was known for rebounding, shot blocking, switching, and interior intimidation. He was also officially listed around 6'9", sometimes shorter, depending on the source, yet regularly defended 7-footers and elite post scorers. He led the NBA in rebounds in 2 different seasons and blocks in another. By the time Detroit won the 2004 championship, Wallace was legendary, but the 2002 voting finish still stands as one of the most unexpected results in award history. Hack a Shaq. On June 9th, 2000, Shaq attempted 39 free throws in a single NBA Finals game against the Indiana Pacers, and that number is still the Finals record for free throw attempts in one game. His final line was 40 points, 24 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 18 made free throws, and 39 attempts. Indiana's entire strategy was to intentionally foul him before he could finish at the rim because his free throw percentage made that a calculated risk. The Pacers' front court, at the time, included Rick Smits, Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, and Sam Perkins, and none of them could physically stop Shaq near the basket in any conventional way. So they kept hacking him and sending him to the line. The game became bizarre to watch because the pace kept getting interrupted by constant free throws. Shaq alone took nearly 40 attempts. Entire teams sometimes don't reach that number in a full game. Despite missing 21 free throws, he still scored 40 points because he so thoroughly dominated Indiana physically that just the attempts themselves generated enough production. The Lakers won the game 111-104 and took a 2-0 finals lead. Another strange detail is that Shaq set 2 records simultaneously: most free throw attempts in an NBA Finals game and most free throw attempts in any playoff game since the Wilt Chamberlain era. At the time, Shaq was already viewed as the most physically dominant player since Chamberlain, and this game basically confirmed it by showing that Indiana had simply given up on stopping him normally. Sneaky timeout. Jason Kidd wasn't a player during the 2013 season. He was coaching the Brooklyn Nets, and in November of that year, he pulled off one of the most creative and bizarre timeout workarounds in NBA history. Late in a close game against the Los Angeles Lakers, Brooklyn had no timeouts left. That was a real problem because the Nets needed to slow things down and organize defensively. So Kidd walked onto the court holding a cup, turned to guard Tyshawn Taylor, and said, "Hit me." Taylor bumped into him. Kidd intentionally spilled his drink onto the court. The floor became wet, officials stopped the game, and arena workers had to come out to clean it up. That delay effectively gave Brooklyn an unearned timeout, even though the team had none remaining. The moment became legendary almost instantly because television cameras and microphones caught Kidd saying, "Hit me," clearly before the spill happened. It wasn't subtle. The sequence exploded online because fans figured out what happened in real time. Kidd later received a $50,000 fine from the NBA for deliberately delaying the game. What made it especially strange was that Kidd was a rookie head coach when this happened. It occurred on national television, and the trick actually worked. Brooklyn used the unplanned stoppage to discuss strategy, substitute, and slow down momentum. The whole thing fit Kidd's career reputation perfect. During his playing years, he was famous for manipulating pace, controlling tempo, and exploiting situational advantage. He just did it from the sideline with a spilled drink instead of a basketball. Sixers Award Suite. The 2000 to 2001 Philadelphia 76ers won 5 of the NBA's 8 major awards handed out that year, and Allen Iverson also won All-Star Game Most Valuable Player earlier in the season, meaning the organization collected 6 major honors in one year. The full list was Most Valuable Player for Iverson, Defensive Player of the Year for Dikembe, Sixth Man of the Year for Aaron McKie, Coach of the Year for Larry Brown, and the Citizenship Award for Dikembe. Iverson led the entire NBA in scoring at 31.1 points per game and averaged over 42 minutes per game that season. He also led the league in steals at 2.5 per game. Dikembe was actually traded to Philadelphia in February 2001 from Atlanta midseason, and he still won Defensive Player of the Year, his 4th overall, tying the NBA record. He averaged 13.5 rebounds and 2.7 blocks. McKee's 6th Man Award was unusual because he wasn't a typical bench scorer. He was a defense-oriented combo guard who often closed games and averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists, despite technically being labeled a reserve. Larry Brown won Coach of the Year after Philadelphia finished with the league's best defensive rating. The Sixers were the only team to beat the Los Angeles Lakers during the entire 2001 postseason. Los Angeles entered the finals 11-0 in the playoffs. Philadelphia won Game 1 in overtime behind 48 points from Iverson before the Lakers won the next 4. One team, 6 awards. One season, Hall of Fame snub, Larry Faust was selected to 8 NBA All-Star games during his career and still hasn't been inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. That makes him the player with the most All-Star appearances among eligible players not in the Hall, which is one of the strangest oversights in basketball history. Faust played from 1950 through 1962, spending most of his career with the Fort Wayne Pistons, before later playing for the Minneapolis Lakers and the St. Louis Hawks. His resume for his era was genuinely strong. 8 All-Star selections, 2 All-NBA selections, an NBA rebounding championship, and 5 NBA Finals appearances. He competed against George McCann, Bob Pettit, Dolph Schayes, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain, meaning he was consistently among the best players in the league during one of its most physically demanding eras. He finished his career with over 11,000 points and 8,000 rebounds. He reached the NBA Finals 5 times, twice with Fort Wayne, once with Minneapolis, and twice connected to the Hawks organization, though he never won a championship. Part of why Faust disappeared from mainstream basketball discussions is that the 1950s NBA had very few teams, limited television exposure, and almost no national media coverage compared to modern basketball. Games weren't widely archived. Statistical tracking was far less advanced. Stars from that era gradually faded from public memory, but the numbers don't change. No eligible player with more All-Star appearances has been kept out of the Hall of Fame. Faust has been eligible for decades. He's still waiting. Palace suspensions. The Malice at the Palace on November 19, 2004, during a game between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons at the Palace of Auburn Hills, became the most infamous fight in NBA history because it crossed completely into the stands. Indiana led 97-82 with under a minute remaining when Ron Artest committed a hard foul on Ben Wallace during a layup attempt. Wallace responded by shoving Artest in the face and neck area. Players rushed in from both sides. Artest then laid down on the scorer's table, trying to calm himself, while officials reviewed the situation. A fan threw a drink from the stands that hit Artest directly. He charged into the crowd. Steven Jackson and Jermaine O'Neal followed. Players and fans began physically fighting. Objects flew everywhere. Security temporarily lost control of portions of the arena. The game never resumed. The punishments afterward were historic. Reports commonly reference a combined 155 games worth of suspensions connected to the incident and surrounding penalties. The official NBA suspensions among 9 players totaled 146 games. Ron Artest received 86 games total, including playoffs, which became the longest suspension ever for an on-court NBA incident. He lost nearly $5 million in salary alone. Total salary losses from the suspensions exceeded $11 million. The league permanently increased arena security presence, player-to-fan separation standards, alcohol monitoring, and punishment severity for entering stands after the incident. Many believed the 2004 to 2005 Pacers were legitimate championship contenders. The suspensions destroyed that season almost immediately. Netflix later released an entire documentary about the incident titled Untold: Malice at the Palace, Kawhi Departure. After leading the Toronto Raptors to the first championship in franchise history in 2019, Kawhi Leonard did something no Finals most valuable player had ever done in the modern free agency era. He left the team immediately after winning the title. Leonard had just averaged 30.5 points per game in the NBA Final, defeated the defending champion Golden State Warriors, won his second Finals Most Valuable Player award, and delivered Canada its first NBA championship. He also hit the famous 4-bounce buzzer beater against the Philadelphia 76ers in the second round, one of the most memorable shots in playoff history. Then less than a month later, he signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. Toronto's Raptors originally acquired Leonard in July 2018 from the San Antonio Spurs in the DeMar DeRozan trade. At the time, Leonard was coming off an injury controversy in San Antonio and had played only 9 games the previous season. There were already rumors he preferred Los Angeles long-term. Despite all of that uncertainty, Toronto went all in. They carefully managed his workload all season through what became known as load management. He missed 22 regular season games, yet the Raptors still finished with 58 wins and the second best record in the league. Leonard's entire Raptors career lasted 60 regular season games, 24 playoff games, 1 championship, and 1 Finals Most Valuable Player award. That's it. 1 season, he'd now won Finals Most Valuable Player with 2 different franchises, the Spurs and the Raptors. Toronto experienced its greatest season and greatest playoff moment in franchise history. And then the superstar left. Late All-NBA Kemba Walker made his first All-NBA team during the 2018 to 2019 season. He was 29 years old and already in his 8th NBA season. That made him one of the oldest, first-time All-NBA selections in league history. Walker averaged 25.6 points, 5.9 assists, and 4.4 rebounds that season for the Charlotte Hornets, leading the team offensively almost entirely on his own. It was also his 4th straight All-Star appearance and included career highs in scoring. Despite being one of the league's most productive guards for multiple seasons before that, Walker had never previously made All-NBA. Part of the reason was circumstance. Walker spent most of his childhood career on teams hovering around 500 records and lower playoff seeds. The Hornets rarely received national attention compared to larger markets. Walker himself was also undersized for a star guard at around 6 feet tall, though he built a reputation as one of the league's toughest shot creators with step-back jumpers, quick handles, and late-game scoring ability. Making All-NBA also had a massive financial consequence because it made Walker eligible for a supermax contract extension under league rules. That directly affected Charlotte's future decision. The historical comparison that makes this even more interesting is Sam Cassell, who remains the oldest first-time All-NBA selection after making the All-NBA second team in 2004 at age 34. Cassell's was his only All-NBA appearance and came after years as a respected veteran. Walker joined that unusual category of players who waited almost an entire career before finally getting that recognition. 23. Michael Jordan had his jersey retired by Emsley A. Laney High School, the University of North Carolina, and the Chicago Bulls. Then the Miami Heat retired his number 2. The strange part is, Jordan never played a single game for Miami. On April 11, 2003, during Jordan's final season with the Washington Wizards, Heat president Pat Riley held a ceremony before a game in Miami and raised a number 23 jersey into the rafters. Riley said Jordan's greatness transcended franchises and teams. That created one of the strangest retired jersey situations in sports history. A franchise honoring a player who never appeared in one game for them. It got even weirder because the Heat retired Jordan's number before many actual Miami legends had their jerseys retired. For years, his banner was one of the only retired numbers hanging in the arena. Then in 2010, LeBron James signed with Miami. LeBron had famously worn number 23 throughout most of his career, specifically because of Jordan's influence on him. But because the Heat had already retired 23 in Jordan's honor, LeBron was forced to switch to number 6 while playing in Miami. That created a genuinely strange historical chain. Jordan influenced LeBron's jersey number choice so deeply that when LeBron finally joined a team that had retired Jordan's number, he had to pick a different one entirely. A player who never suited up for the Heat ended up indirectly changing the jersey number of one of the greatest players in NBA history. That banner in Miami still exists and still looks out of place in the best possible way. Michael Jordan's list. On May 7th, 1989, Michael Jordan hit a jumper over Craig Elo to give the Chicago Bulls a 101-100 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 5 of their first round playoff series. That shot ended the series, but what happened after is honestly just as legendary as the shot itself. The Cavaliers finished that regular season with a 57-25 record, the best in the entire Eastern Conference. Chicago finished with only 47 wins. Cleveland swept all 6 regular season meetings against the Bulls that year. On paper, it wasn't even close. The Cavaliers were supposed to win this series easily. Jordan knew that. He also knew what every reporter and analyst was saying, and he remembered all of it. After eliminating Cleveland, Jordan famously declared that everyone who picked against him could, well, go somewhere unpleasant. That quote became one of the earliest examples of Jordan using outside doubt as personal fuel. He wasn't just competing against the Cavaliers, he was competing against every opinion that said he couldn't win. Jordan scored 44 points in that deciding game. The final minute featured 6 lead changes. With 3 seconds left and Chicago trailing by 1, he caught the inbound pass from Brad Sellers, dribbled right, and rose over Elo. The image of Jordan pumping his fist while Elo collapsed became one of the defining visuals of his entire career. Here's what makes it petty, though. Jordan already had an MVP award and a Defensive Player of the Year award from 1988. He didn't need to prove he was great. He was already great. But instead of simply celebrating one of the most iconic shots ever, he made sure every single person who doubted him knew he hadn't forgotten their name. That's not motivation. That's a list. And Jordan kept it forever. LeBron James's Ultimate Warrior t-shirt. In June of 2016, LeBron James led the Cleveland Cavaliers back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals to defeat the Golden State Warriors in 7 games. No team had ever done that before in finals history. The Warriors had won a record 73 regular season games. They were overwhelming favorites. Cleveland ended a 52-year championship drought for the city, and then came the parade. On June 22nd, LeBron showed up to the championship celebration in downtown Cleveland, wearing a black shirt featuring the Ultimate Warrior, a WWE character famous for dramatic victories over opponents. He also wore a cap, showing the widely known Kermit sipping tea meme, which is commonly used to mock others while pretending to stay uninvolved. LeBron didn't say a single word about the Warriors. He didn't have to. His clothing did all the talking. That context matters a lot here. Steph Curry had won the unanimous MVP award that season. Draymond Green had mocked LeBron during the series, and Green's suspension for Game 5 became one of the key turning points. LeBron responded in the most LeBron way possible. He averaged 29.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 8.9 assists in the series, and became the only player in finals history to lead both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks simultaneously. He won completely, undeniably, and then he put on a meme hat at the parade. The Kermit hat became one of the most memorable championship parade accessories in NBA history because it required zero explanation. Golden State blew a 3-1 lead, and LeBron was clearly enjoying every second of it without saying anything direct. That level of silent, perfectly timed trolling is genuinely impressive. It's one of the pettiest victory laps in sports history, and it's hard not to respect the execution. Larry Bird's second place speech. On February 8, 1986, the NBA held its first official 3-point contest during All-Star Weekend in Dallas. Before the competition even started, Larry Bird walked into the locker room and asked the other competitors which one of them was finishing second. That wasn't a joke. That was a warning. Bird kept his warm-up jacket on throughout the entire contest, treating the event as though it required minimal effort. He won the inaugural 3-point contest with a score of 22 points in the final round. After making the winning shots, he raised his right index finger before the contest was even officially over, signaling victory before the final ball dropped. He then won it again in 1987 and again in 1988, 3 consecutive titles. No player won more than 3 straight until decades later. Bird established the standard for shooting dominance at that event and did it while also winning 3 consecutive regular season MVP awards from 1984 through 1986 and leading the Celtics to the 1986 championship. So he wasn't some random shooter talking trash. He was the best player in the league at the time, and he still felt the need to walk into that locker room and publicly tell every other competitor that the contest was already decided. That's the part that makes it genuinely petty. He didn't just show up and dominate. He made sure everyone knew before the first shot went up that they weren't competing for first place. They were competing for second, and then he backed it up 3 years in a row. The combination of that level of confidence and that level of public disrespect toward the entire field is exactly why this moment still gets talked about decades later. Kyrie Irving's logo stomp. Kyrie Irving played for the Boston Celtics from the 2017-18 season through the 2018-19 season during a season ticket holder event at TD Garden on October 4th, 2018. Irving told fans directly that if they would have him back, he planned to re-sign with Boston. Celtics fans held on to that promise all season. That didn't happen. Boston finished 49-33 and lost in 5 games to the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. Irving shot 6 for 21 in Game 4 and 7 for 22 in Game 5. That offseason, he signed a 4-year, $136.5 million maximum contract with the Brooklyn Nets. The relationship between Irving and Boston fans became extremely hostile almost immediately. In the 2021 first round of the playoffs, the second-seeded Nets faced the 7th-seeded Celtics. Brooklyn won 4-1. Game 4 took place on May 30th, 2021 at TD Garden. Irving scored 39 points on 11 for 24 shooting and helped Brooklyn win 141-126. After the final buzzer, as players were leaving the floor, Irving intentionally stepped directly on Lucky the Leprechaun, the Celtics center court logo. The game was already over. Brooklyn led the series 3-1. Irving wasn't reacting to anything live. He looked down, planted his foot on the logo, and walked toward the tunnel. It served zero basketball purpose. It was aimed directly at Boston's symbol at the most intentional, most calculated moment possible. That's what makes it so undeniably petty. He won the game, he was about to win the series, and he still needed that one extra moment to make a statement. Irving later said a water bottle was thrown at him by a fan after the stomp, and that fan was arrested and banned from TD Garden. But the stomp itself, that was purely personal. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Detroit Pistons walking off. From 1988 through 1990, the Detroit Pistons eliminated the Chicago Bulls in the playoffs 3 consecutive times. They won NBA championships in both 1989 and 1990. They were physical, they were relentless, and they built an entire defensive system called the Jordan Rules, specifically designed to punish Michael Jordan every time he touched the ball. By 1991, Chicago was ready. Jordan won the regular season MVP. The Bulls finished 61-21, and they swept Detroit 4-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1, Chicago won 94-83. Game 2, 105-97. Game 3, 113-107. Game 4, 115-94. With 7.9 seconds left in Game 4, Bill Laimbeer started walking. Thomas, Laimbeer, Rodman, and most of the Pistons left the bench and headed directly to the locker room without shaking hands with Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or anyone else on the Bulls. Joe Dumars and John Sally were the most notable Pistons, who stayed and shook hands. Everyone else was gone. Before the buzzer finished echoing, Thomas later pointed to Celtics players leaving quickly after a 1988 loss to Detroit, but observers noted those Celtics didn't orchestrate a coordinated walk-off before the game was officially finished. The situations weren't the same. Jordan cited that moment repeatedly as the reason he lost respect for Thomas. He called Thomas's explanation in the documentary The Last Dance complete nonsense. The lasting consequence was significant. Thomas was left off the 1992 Dream Team, despite being one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. With Jordan and others reportedly opposing his inclusion, Detroit spent years demanding respect through physical play, then refused to show any when they finally lost. That contradiction is exactly what made the walk-off one of the pettiest moments ever. Chris Paul's untucked jersey play. On October 24th, 2019, the Oklahoma City Thunder hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves in a regular season game. It was Chris Paul's first season with Oklahoma City after being traded by the Houston Rockets in July of that year as part of the Russell Westbrook deal. Late in the fourth quarter, with the game close, Timberwolves forward Jordan Bell checked in. NBA rules require players entering the game to have their jerseys properly tucked in. Bell was still tucking his jersey while stepping onto the court. Paul noticed immediately. He flagged referee Mark Ayotte. Because Minnesota had already received a delay of game warning earlier, the second violation resulted in a technical foul. Danilo Gallinari made the free throw. Oklahoma City won the game 117-116. The technical foul free throw matched the final margin exactly. If Bell's jersey had been tucked in, that free point doesn't exist, and the outcome could have been different. Paul later admitted he had known that rule for years and was waiting for his moment to use it. At that point in his career, he was an 11-time All-Star, a 9-time All-NBA selection, a 6-time steals leader, and the president of the National Basketball Players Association. He had mastered every corner of the rulebook. That's what makes this one of the most uniquely petty moments in NBA history. Paul didn't win that possession with athleticism or skill. He won it because he noticed that a guy's shirt wasn't tucked in. In a one-point game, that's the difference. He spent years storing that rule in his memory, waiting for the right game, the right moment, and the right untucked jersey. That's a level of pettiness that requires genuine patience and preparation. Anthony Davis's That's All Folks shirt. On January 28, 2019, Anthony Davis informed the New Orleans Pelicans he wanted out. His agent Rich Paul of Clutch Sports made the announcement publicly. Davis had been named to 6 All-Star teams and still had a full guaranteed season left on his contract. The Los Angeles Lakers were immediately viewed as his preferred destination because they shared the same agency and featured LeBron James. The Pelicans held on to him through the trade deadline on February 7th. The NBA fined New Orleans $100,000 after determining the public trade request violated anti-tampering rules. Davis returned to the court in one of the most awkward situations imaginable, often playing reduced minutes for a team he had already announced he was leaving. Then came April 9th, 2019. The Pelicans played their final game of the season against the Golden State Warriors. After the game, Davis walked out of the arena wearing a black t-shirt featuring the phrase, "That's all, folks," with a Looney Tunes graphic. Davis later said he didn't realize the shirt would cause such a reaction and that a friend had sent it to him. But the timing was impossible to miss. It was his final night as a Pelican, and he chose to announce his departure using a cartoon catchphrase historically associated with endings. Davis won a championship with the Lakers in his first season after being traded on June 15th, 2019 in a deal that included Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, the number 4 pick in the 2019 draft, and multiple future first-round picks and swap rights. He proved everything he needed to prove, but that shirt remains one of the most openly dismissive exit statements in NBA history. No press, conference, no farewell speech, just a Looney Tunes graphic and a message anyone could understand. Whether it was intentional or not, the image stuck. "That's all, folks" was the perfect accidental goodbye. Shaq's Superman mockery. Shaq adopted the nickname Superman early in his NBA career. He wore a Superman cape during the 1993 Slam Dunk Contest and had the Superman logo tattooed on his arm. That nickname became a central part of his public identity for over a decade. Then in February 2008, Dwight Howard won the Slam Dunk Contest wearing a Superman cape and a Superman sticker on his jersey. Howard was already being called Superman by fans and media because of his athleticism and shot block. The name fit, the crowd loved it. Shaq did not love it. He repeatedly stated that Howard was not the real Superman and that there was only one Superman in basketball. The criticism intensified because Howard played the same position and was viewed as the most dominant big man of his generation. Howard led the Orlando Magic to the 2009 NBA Finals and won 3 consecutive Defensive Player of the Year awards from 2009 through 2011. Shaq mocked Howard in interviews, television appearances, and freestyle raps. He questioned Howard's toughness, minimized his accomplishments, and invented alternate nicknames to replace the Superman label. The feud lasted more than a decade. Even after both players retired, Shaq continued criticizing Howard's post moves, attitude, and overall legacy on television. In 2020, Howard helped the Lakers win the NBA championship and repeatedly called himself Superman during the celebration. Shaq publicly responded that Howard should stop using the name. That's the whole story right there. One of the most dominant players in NBA history spent years defending a superhero nickname as though it were a personal championship. Howard never claimed to be better than Shaq. He just wore a cape at a dunk contest, and Shaq never fully let it go. That's genuinely one of the pettiest long-term feuds in sports history. Kevin Durant's burner accounts. On September 17, 2017, Kevin Durant was replying to fans on Twitter from his verified account when he accidentally posted tweets that were clearly meant for a separate anonymous account. In one reply, Durant wrote in the third person that he didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan and that the roster wasn't that good. He was talking about himself as if he were someone else, which immediately made it obvious he believed he was posting anonymously. The internet reacted instantly. Durant had left the Oklahoma City Thunder on July 4th, 2016 to sign with the Golden State Warriors, a team that had just won 73 regular season games and eliminated Durant's own Thunder after trailing 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals. The backlash was enormous and never fully stopped, so he went online anonymously and defended himself. He soon confirmed the tweets were his and that he had been, in his own words, childish. But the admission only made everything bigger. This wasn't a rumor anymore. It was confirmed. Durant, a 2-time Finals MVP and one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, had been secretly defending himself in the comments. After the Twitter incident, fans discovered a suspected Instagram account called Choir Sultan that regularly defended Durant and used similar language to his public posts. Durant never confirmed that account, but the mythology around his online behavior kept growing. By 2019, he stopped pretending to be embarrassed about burner accounts and publicly said he used them to talk privately and follow conversations without everything becoming public. In 2020, on the podcast All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, Durant said directly that he was still going to do the burner thing. Then in February 2026, during NBA All-Star Weekend, fans identified a private account on the platform formerly known as Twitter under the handle at GetHigher77. Screenshots leaked showing messages that criticized multiple current and former teammates, including Alperen Sengun, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Steph Curry. The leaked messages were nicknamed the KD file. Durant declined to confirm or deny ownership and said he wasn't there to discuss social media nonsense. No technical proof confirmed the account was his, but his history made the speculation impossible to dismiss. Durant is a future Hall of Famer who clearly cares deeply about what strangers say online. That combination is exactly why this story never ends. Reggie Miller's choke sign. On June 1st, 1994, Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers walked into Madison Square Garden for Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, with the series tied 2-2. The Knicks had finished the regular season 57-25. Indiana had finished 47-35 as the 5th seed. New York had home court advantage. The crowd was loud, the building was electric, and Spike Lee was sitting courtside doing exactly what Spike Lee did at every important Knicks home game in the 1990s, which was talking nonstop to opposing players. Miller talked back, and then he started shooting. In the fourth quarter alone, Miller scored 25 points. He finished with 39 points total. Indiana outscored New York 35-16 in the fourth quarter and won 93-86. After multiple jumpers and three-pointers, Miller turned toward Spike Lee and used both hands to make a choking gesture around his throat. Not at the Knicks bench, directly at Lee. He was telling the most famous fan in the building that his team was collapsing under pressure. Miller later said he was responding to Lee's constant trash talk throughout the game. But the optics were undeniable. He hit shot after shot in front of 60+ thousand of the most passionate fans in basketball. And instead of just celebrating, he found the most recognizable face in the crowd and mocked him specifically. The Pacers took a 3-2 series lead. Then the Knicks won Game 6 and Game 7 to advance to the 1994 NBA Finals. So Indiana lost the series after Miller's iconic performance. That makes it even more interesting. Miller called the Knicks out for choking, then his own team lost. The taunt didn't age perfectly, but none of that changed the image. The choke sign at Madison Square Garden permanently defined Miller as the Knick Killer, a reputation he fully embraced. The rivalry intensified the following year when he scored 8 points in 8.9 seconds in another playoff game at the Garden. Miller and New York never stopped being appointment television. Clippers banner covers from 1999 through 2024, the Los Angeles Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers shared Staples Center, which was renamed Crypto.com Arena in 2021. The Lakers had 11 championships by the time the Clippers began sharing the arena in 1999. They displayed championship banners, retired jerseys, division banners, and conference titles throughout the building. For every Clippers home game, arena staff covered all of those banners and retired jerseys with large black and white drapes and Clippers-themed signage. The goal was straightforward: remove any visual evidence that the building had a history tied to another franchise. The practice became especially notable during the Lob City era from 2011 through 2017, when the Clippers built one of their most competitive rosters ever around Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. They were a legitimate contender, but they had never reached a conference finals before 2021 and had never won a championship. The Lakers had 16 titles by 2010 and 17 after winning the 2020 NBA Finals. Blake Griffin once acknowledged that the whole point was to make the arena feel like a Clippers building rather than a Lakers building. That's an honest answer, but it also highlights the gap between what those covered banners represented and what the Clippers had accomplished at that point. The pettiness here is institutional. It wasn't one player making a gesture or one moment in a game. It was an organization, every single home game for 25 years, physically hiding another franchise's entire championship history because they shared the same court. In 2024, the Clippers moved into Intuit Dome and the tradition ended. But for a quarter century, every Clippers tip-off began with someone draping a curtain over everything the Lakers had built. That's a long time to be that bothered. Trae Young's MSG Bow, the Atlanta Hawks, entered the 2021 playoffs as the 5th seed. The New York Knicks were the 4th seed and were making their first postseason appearance since 2013. Knicks fans had been waiting 8 years for playoff basketball, and Madison Square Garden was absolutely energized for that first round series. Trae Young made them wait a little longer. In Game 1, Young scored 32 points and 10 assists and hit the game-winning floater with .9 seconds remaining. After the shot, he reportedly told the crowd it was quiet in there. That set the tone for the entire series. Knicks fans responded by chanting profanities at Young throughout every game, which turned out to be exactly the wrong strategy. Young averaged 32.9 points and 8.7 assists in the series. In the series, clinching Game 5 on June 2nd, 2021, he finished with 36 points and 9 assists, shooting 10 for 28 from the field and 17 for 19 from the free throw line. The Hawks won 103-89 and took the series 4-1. After the game was decided, Young walked to center court at Madison Square Garden and performed a deep theatrical bow toward the crowd, the same crowd that had been chanting at him for 2 weeks. He wasn't being subtle about it. He was thanking them for the motivation, eliminating them in their own building, and taking a curtain call, all in one gesture. Young later said he felt like a performer on Broadway, referencing the fact that Madison Square Garden sits in the heart of New York City theater culture. The bow was perfectly calculated. The Knicks had spent weeks building playoff hype. Their fans had made Young the villain of the series, and he responded by treating the whole thing as a live performance in which he was the star. Atlanta then defeated Philadelphia in the second round before losing to Milwaukee, but that bow at the Garden is what everyone remembered from that entire playoff run. Pippen's refusal. On May 13, 1994, the Chicago Bulls faced the New York Knicks in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals at Chicago Stadium. The game was tied 102-102 with 1.8 seconds left. Head coach Phil Jackson designed the final play for rookie Tony Kukoc, not Scottie Pippen. Pippen had finished third in MVP voting that season. He had averaged 22 points, 8.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and 2.9 steals during the regular season while carrying Chicago after Michael Jordan's first retirement. He was the best player on the team, and Jackson drew the play up for someone else. So Pippen sat down. He refused to enter the game. Assistant Tex Winter and several teammates tried to convince him to sub in. He didn't move. Kukoc entered, caught the inbound pass, and made a turnaround jumper over Patrick Ewing to win the game 104-102. The moment immediately became one of the most memorable shots of Kukoc's career, which somehow made everything worse for Pippen. Horace Grant publicly criticized Pippen after the game and called the decision selfish. Pippen himself admitted his actions were wrong and said he regretted them. Chicago still pushed the Knicks to 7 games before losing the series. The pettiness here is almost impossible to overstate. Pippen had spent that entire season proving he could lead a team without Jordan. He had done it. He had earned the respect of the entire league. And then in one moment, personal frustration over a final play call led him to stay on the bench during the final second of a tied playoff game. Kukoc made the shot. The Bulls won, but all anyone could talk about was Pippen refusing to get up. He let ego override everything he had built that season in a single moment that lasted less than 2 seconds. Jalen Rose undercut. On June 9th, 2000, during Game 2 of the NBA Finals, Kobe Bryant suffered a severe left ankle sprain after landing on Jalen Rose's foot following a jump shot. Bryant missed Game 3 because of the injury. Years later, Rose stated publicly that he intentionally stepped underneath Bryant to prevent him from getting comfortable. He wanted Bryant to know that every shot would come with physical consequences. Rose was a starting guard for the Indiana Pacers, who were in their first ever NBA Finals appearance. Bryant was in his 4th NBA season and had become one of the most explosive players in the league. The Lakers were heavily favored. Rose's tactic was designed to change the physical terms of the series. Without Bryant in Game 3, Shaq fouled out in overtime, and the Lakers still won because Bryant returned from the injury and contributed key baskets late. Los Angeles ultimately won the series in 6 games. Indiana never reached the finals again. Rose's admission became controversial, specifically because of how openly he described the intent. Stepping under an airborne shooter is widely considered one of the most dangerous tactics in basketball. The landing space rules were later strengthened by the NBA precisely because of situations like this one. Rose has expressed respect for Bryant in other contexts, but he has never denied that the undercut was deliberate. Bryant went on to win 5 championships and become one of the greatest players in NBA history. Rose's career was solid, but never reached that level. The pettiness here comes from the admission itself. Not just that it happened, but that Rose openly acknowledged the intent was to cause physical discomfort and potentially disrupt Bryant's rhythm through a tactic that could have caused serious harm. That kind of honesty about a questionable, competitive decision is rare, and it permanently attached Rose's name to one of the more uncomfortable moments in finals history. Jimmy Butler's third stringer practice. On October 10th, 2018, Jimmy Butler returned to practice with the Minnesota Timberwolves after formally requesting a trade. Butler had grown frustrated with the work habits and competitiveness of younger teammates, particularly Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. He had helped Minnesota reach the playoffs in 2018, ending a 14-year postseason drought for the franchise. And apparently, he felt like he was the only one who cared enough, so he decided to make that point in the most direct way possible. Butler reportedly picked a team of reserves and end-of-bench players and competed against a group featuring several starters and rotation players. Multiple reports stated Butler's side won repeatedly. He reportedly yelled toward general manager Scott Layden during the scrimmage, telling him that he needed Butler and couldn't win without him. National media was present because Butler's trade request had already become one of the biggest stories in the league. The next day, Butler gave a televised interview to ESPN discussing his dissatisfaction with the organization. He wasn't hiding any of it. He was broadcasting it. Less than 1 month later, on November 12th, 2018, Minnesota traded Butler to the Philadelphia 76ers. After his departure, the Timberwolves missed the playoffs in the 2018-19 season. What makes this one of the pettiest moments in NBA history isn't just the trash talk or the scrimmage result, it's the entire construction of it. Butler specifically chose his team, specifically beat the starters, specifically made sure executives were watching, and specifically made sure the media could see all of it. He turned the practice into a staged public statement designed to prove a point he had already made privately. He won the scrimmage, got traded a month later, and left the franchise in a significantly worse position than when he arrived. Every part of that was intentional. Matt Barnes versus Derek Fisher. This one had almost nothing to do with basketball. Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher had known each other for years. Two respected veterans who had competed around the league and apparently had enough mutual respect that Barnes considered Fisher someone he trusted around his family. That trust didn't last. Barnes and his wife Gloria Govin separated in 2014 after years of a turbulent relationship. What Barnes says he didn't know at first was that Fisher had started dating Govin. Fisher was the head coach of the New York Knicks at the time. October 2015 is when everything went sideways. Barnes was playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. His twin sons called him from Govin's house in Southern California and told him Fisher was there. Barnes got in his car and drove roughly 95 miles from Santa Barbara to the house. Fisher had reportedly already left by the time Barnes arrived. Barnes confronted Fisher outside anyway, and multiple reports confirmed a physical altercation took place between the two. Barnes punched Fisher. Police investigated. No criminal charges were ever filed, but the NBA came down hard. Barnes received a 2-game suspension without pay. The Players Association filed a grievance to overturn it. The grievance failed. Barnes was then fined an additional $35,000 after publicly stating that violence is never the answer, but sometimes it is. He went on record in numerous interviews criticizing Fisher, saying the core issue wasn't jealousy, it was betrayal. Fisher had been around his children before any of this happened. That's what Barnes kept coming back to. Fisher rarely escalated publicly and mostly acknowledged the incident without adding fuel. Years passed, and things eventually cooled. Fisher and Govin got engaged and later married. Barnes has said co-parenting became the priority, and he eventually moved on. But this story never fades because it had everything. 2 active NBA figures, a physical fight, league discipline, children involved, and a level of personal betrayal that most sports controversies simply don't reach. It's one of the most off-court things that's ever happened between 2 people connected to the NBA. LeBron James versus Delonte West. This one's different from every other feud on this list because the most famous part of it has never actually been proven. The central rumor claimed that Delonte West had a relationship with LeBron James' mother, Gloria James. There's never been credible evidence confirming that. LeBron has never addressed it. Gloria James has never confirmed it. West has denied it. The rumor is, and always has been, unverified. What made it explode was the timing. During the 2010 NBA playoff, anonymous posts began spreading the allegation across blogs, message boards, and social media. Cleveland was playing Boston in the second round. The Cavaliers had entered that series with the league's best regular season record. LeBron had just won back-to-back MVP awards. They lost in 6 games. LeBron's performance in Game 5 became one of the most criticized of his career. His body language was unusual throughout the series, and that created an opening for speculation, even though no evidence connected any of it to the rumor. The timing made people connect dots that probably weren't there. What's often lost in this story is that West's actual life struggles were completely separate from the rumor and far more serious. He'd been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He battled mental health issues throughout his career. He later faced financial problems and periods of homelessness. Those real struggles were consistently overshadowed by a story that was never proven true. The rumor permanently changed how the public talked about him, despite never being verified. LeBron's approach was straightforward. He never publicly addressed it. He never validated it. The silence likely kept additional media attention from treating an unverified claim as something credible. No former Cavaliers teammate ever provided evidence that the rumor caused any locker room damage. No credible reporting has established that Cleveland's playoff collapse connected to anything off the court. This feud exists differently than the other. There were no public confrontations. There was no confirmed incident. It became one of the NBA's most infamous personal stories entirely because a rumor permanently linked two names together in league culture, and that link never went away. Shaq versus Dwight Howard. This feud ran for nearly 2 decades and never really had a single breaking point. It built slowly and stayed personal, long after both players retired. It started when Dwight Howard entered the league in 2004 and developed into the dominant defensive center of his era. By 2008 and 2009, he was the premier defensive presence in the NBA, and media members started making direct comparisons to Shaq. That's when the first real problem surfaced. Shaq had spent years building a personal brand around the Superman identity. Howard won the 2008 Slam Dunk Contest wearing a Superman cape and became associated with the same nickname. Shaq openly disliked it. He viewed it as someone taking something that was his. The criticism started with basketball. Shaq repeatedly said Howard lacked post moves, relied too much on athleticism, and didn't have a refined offensive game. Howard said he respected Shaq and never wanted to replace him, that he simply admired him, and that Shaq was misreading admiration as imitation. Their actual games against each other added to it. Shaq was with the Phoenix Suns when Howard was leading the Orlando Magic, and every matchup was heavily promoted around the old Superman versus new Superman angle. After both retired, the criticism didn't stop. Shaq used his platform on TNT to keep going after Howard's effort and legacy. Howard fired back on social media, accused Shaq of tearing down younger centers, and claimed jealousy was at the root of it. In early 2025, Howard publicly said he tried to resolve things privately and conversations never worked. He suggested they should throw hands if the criticism continued. Shaq responded online, saying he'd stop mentioning Howard's name and called him overly sensitive. Then something unexpected happened. Howard was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Shaq publicly congratulated him, called him "my guy," and agreed to participate in Howard's Hall of Fame celebration alongside other legendary centers. That was the first genuine public reconciliation after years of this. What made it stand out was that the resentment outlasted their careers by over a decade. This wasn't about one incident. It was about identity, legacy, and who got to represent the dominant center position after Shaq's era ended. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Scottie Pippen versus Jerry Krause. This feud went far deeper than a player disagreeing with a front office executive. It became a battle over credit, respect, and legacy that didn't end even after Krause passed away. Krause became Bulls general manager in 1985 and was responsible for building the championship roster, including drafting Horace Grant and acquiring Pippen on draft night in 1987 after trading up for the 5th overall pick from Seattle. Despite doing exactly that, Krause grew increasingly focused on receiving recognition for the Bulls' success, rather than watching all credit flow toward Michael Jordan, Pippen, and coach Phil Jackson. Pippen believed Krause never truly valued him. Before becoming one of the best players in the league, Pippen had signed one of the most team-friendly contracts in NBA history. As the salary cap exploded, that deal became drastically below market value. Pippen asked repeatedly for a renegotiation. Krause consistently refused. Ownership backed Krause because teams almost never renegotiated contracts during that era. Pippen interpreted it as a personal statement about how much the organization actually respected him. The trade rumors made everything worse. Nearly every year after the first championship, Pippen's name appeared in trade discussions. Krause openly explored moving him for younger stars, with discussions involving multiple All-Stars and high draft picks. Then came the quote that Pippen never forgot. Krause repeatedly said that organizations win championships, not players. Pippen viewed it as Krause minimizing everything he and Jordan had built. The 1997-98 season became the final flashpoint. Before training camp, Krause reportedly told Jackson he could go 82-0 and still wouldn't return as coach. Jackson told the players. Pippen immediately saw it as confirmation that management wanted to dismantle the team. Chicago finished that season with 62 wins and won their 6th title in 8 seasons. Pippen believed they could have kept going. Instead, ownership and Krause chose an immediate rebuild. Pippen blamed Krause personally for ending one of the greatest teams ever assembled. Krause died in 2017. In 2024, during the Bulls' Ring of Honor ceremony, portions of the crowd booed video tributes to Krause. Pippen later criticized the fans for booing, while still maintaining Krause unnecessarily broke up the dynasty. The fact that this debate was still happening years after Krause's death says everything about how personal it remained. Shaq versus Kobe. This is arguably the most famous superstar feud in NBA history because it involved two players who are both capable of being the best in the league at the same time. Shaq arrived in Los Angeles in 1996, already viewed as one of basketball's most dominant players. Kobe arrived months later as an 18-year-old rookie who immediately wanted to be the best player in the NBA. Shaq expected the franchise to revolve around him. Neither personality naturally accepted sharing anything. The biggest personal issue wasn't basketball, it was work ethic. Kobe became obsessed with preparation. Teammates described him arriving before sunrise and practicing multiple times daily. Shaq openly preferred relying on natural ability and later said his 3 finals MVP awards proved his approach worked. They each believed they were the most important player on the team, which made every conversation about shot distribution turn into something larger. They criticized each other through national media in ways that most teammates never would, questioning conditioning, leadership, and shot selection publicly. During a heated practice in 2001, players had to separate them physically. Teammates acknowledged the tension never fully disappeared after that. Phil Jackson spent years trying to manage 2 completely different personalities, describing himself as a referee more than a coach. His book, The Last Season, described a deeply divided locker room during their final year together. 2004 brought the collapse. Kobe had free agency coming. Shaq wanted a maximum extension. The Lakers lost the NBA Finals to the Detroit Pistons. Ownership chose Bryant. Shaq was traded to Miami. Shaq recorded rap lyrics mocking Bryant after the trade. Kobe responded publicly. Kobe later admitted those comments motivated him enormously. They then spent years competing over who deserved credit for the dynasty. Shaq won another championship in Miami. Kobe won back-to-back championships in 2009 and 2010 without Shaq. Both proved their point. The relationship eventually repaired. Shaq introduced Kobe as the greatest Laker ever on his podcast. Shaq attended Bryant's final NBA game, where Kobe scored 60 points. They described what they had as mutual respect. But while it was happening, both acknowledged it was intensely personal every single day. Kevin Garnett versus Carmelo Anthony. This feud didn't start with a trade or a playoff series. It came down to one comment during a regular season game, and it escalated in a way the NBA genuinely hadn't seen before. Before January 7th, 2013, Garnett and Anthony had already met numerous times in highly competitive games. KG was famous throughout the league for relentless trash talk. Players consistently described him as one of the loudest verbal competitors they'd ever faced. Anthony had a reputation for responding aggressively when he felt disrespected. Those two personalities collided during a regular season game between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. Throughout the game, Garnett repeatedly went after Anthony. Both players received technical fouls. Officials separated them multiple times. After the game, reports spread that Garnett had made a comment involving Anthony's wife, Lala Anthony. The widely reported phrase included saying she tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios. Neither player has ever fully confirmed every reported word, but both acknowledged that comments involving Anthony's wife were what made the confrontation dramatically escalate. What happened next is what separated this from an ordinary in-game argument. Anthony didn't let it end when the buzzer sounded. He waited outside Boston's locker room. He followed the Celtics team bus. Security intervened. Police were reportedly present. The NBA suspended Anthony for attempting to continue the confrontation after leaving the floor. The league considered his behavior after the game particularly serious. What made this feud especially personal was the line Garnett crossed. Players around the league had largely accepted KG's trash talk because he attacked basketball. Anthony's position was that involving family was different, that it crossed an unwritten line the league understands even without explicitly stating it. For years afterward, Anthony declined to forgive Garnett publicly. Media asked both players about it repeatedly. Garnett occasionally referenced it indirectly. Anthony's explanation never changed. He had no issue with competitive trash talk and every issue with someone bringing his wife into it. They never developed a warm relationship after. Unlike some NBA feuds that eventually turned into friendships, the respect between Garnett and Anthony never appeared fully restored, and the incident has remained one of the most discussed trash-talking stories in modern NBA history. Russell Westbrook versus Kevin Durant. This became one of the NBA's defining rivalries because it wasn't built on competition between opponents. It was built on friendship that collapsed overnight. Kevin Durant was drafted second overall in 2007 by the Seattle Supersonics. Russell Westbrook was drafted fourth overall 1 year later, and the franchise relocated to Oklahoma City just days after selecting him. Together, they became the faces of that rebuilt organization. Along with James Harden and Serge Ibaka, they formed one of the youngest championship cores in league history. Oklahoma City reached the NBA Final in 2012, losing to the Miami Heat. Between 2010 and 2016, the Thunder won at least 50 games in every full season. Durant won 4 scoring titles, playing beside Westbrook. Teammates consistently described them as genuinely close, despite their very different personality. Then came July 4th, 2016. Durant announced he was signing with the Golden State Warriors. This came weeks after Oklahoma City had blown a 3-1 lead to Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. The Warriors had just won a record 73 regular season games. Durant joined the exact team that eliminated him. Westbrook reportedly learned of the decision shortly before the public announcement, rather than directly from Durant himself. Westbrook never publicly attacked Durant immediately after, but he refused to use Durant's name in interviews for a long period, referring to him simply as him. He signed a contract extension with Oklahoma City 1 month later. Their first game against each other in February 2017 became one of the most anticipated regular season games in years. Fans wore cupcakes to mock Durant after reports that Westbrook had privately called him that, implying softness. Durant scored 34 points. Golden State won 130-114. In November 2017, Westbrook stole the ball from Durant during a blowout Thunder win. The two went forehead to forehead before teammates stepped in. Then in September 2017, Durant accidentally posted comments from a burner account defending himself, criticizing former Thunder teammates and coach Billy Donovan. He confirmed the account was his. The incident made it clear unresolved feelings remained. The relationship gradually improved after they played together on the 2018 All-Star team. Durant later admitted he made the breakup larger than it needed to be. Westbrook said their conversations eventually became normal. The emotional charge around this feud came from how genuine their friendship appeared to be before it ended. Gilbert Arenas versus Javaris Crittenton. This is arguably the most dangerous personal feud in NBA history because it escalated from trash talk to firearms being drawn inside a locker room. Arenas and Crittenton were teammates on the Washington Wizards during the 2009 season. The dispute started during a team flight over a card game called Bourrée. Gambling during flights had long been common among NBA veterans. Crittenton lost money during the game, and Arenas repeatedly taunted him throughout the flight. According to Arenas, it became more about nonstop trash talk than the amount of money involved. During the argument, both players referenced guns. Crittenton allegedly told Arenas he played with guns. Arenas later said he believed it was a bluff and decided to call it. On December 21st, 2009, Arenas brought several unloaded handguns into the Wizards' locker room and placed them near Crittenton's locker, reportedly telling Crittenton to choose one. Crittenton did not back down. He pulled out his own loaded handgun. Multiple teammates immediately left the locker room. No shots were fired, and no one was physically hurt, but the confrontation became one of the most shocking incidents in league history. Commissioner David Stern came down hard on both players. Each was suspended without pay for the remainder of the season. Both pleaded guilty to misdemeanor gun charges. Arenas initially received an indefinite suspension, and the punishment intensified after he jokingly mimed finger guns before a game against Philadelphia while the investigation was still ongoing. Stern publicly stated Arenas was not currently fit to take the court. The incident permanently altered both careers. Arenas had been a 3-time All-Star who averaged over 28 points per game at his peak. He never returned to that level. He later played brief stints in Orlando and Memphis before retiring. Crittenton never played another NBA game. The Wizards released him after the suspension. In 2011, he was arrested in connection with the shooting death of Julian Jones. He later pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and aggravated assault and was sentenced to prison before being released in 2023. One surprising note, Arenas and Crittenton later reconciled. Crittenton appeared on Arenas' podcast in 2023. Both said they had actually been close friends before the incident and that media coverage rarely acknowledged that part of the story. Michael Jordan versus Isaiah Thomas. This feud lasted for decades and involved playoff battles, Olympic controversy, and decades of public criticism between two Hall of Fame careers. Jordan entered the league in 1984. Thomas was already the leader of the Detroit Pistons. Detroit eliminated Chicago from the playoffs in 1988, 1989, and 1990. The Pistons built the Jordan rules, a defensive strategy designed specifically to limit Jordan through constant double teams and extremely physical play. Jordan was routinely hit on drives and challenged with hard fouls. The defining moment came in the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals. Chicago swept Detroit 4-0. With approximately 8 seconds remaining in Game 4, Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and several Pistons walked off the court before the final buzzer without shaking hands with the Bulls. Jordan called it unsportsmanlike. Thomas acknowledged the decision became a lasting part of his legacy. 1 year later, the feud became even more personal. The United States assembled the famous 1992 Olympic Dream Team. Thomas was left off the roster, despite being one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. Many players and media members believe Jordan opposed Thomas's inclusion. Jordan has denied personally removing him. However, multiple books and documentaries reported that Jordan made it clear he didn't want Thomas on the roster, if asked. The exact level of Jordan's influence remains debated because no official selection document confirms Thomas was excluded solely because of Jordan. Jordan repeatedly criticized the Pistons' style of basketball. Thomas accused Jordan of influencing public opinion against him and said he felt personally isolated by many members of the Dream Team generation. Jordan maintained he respected Thomas's talent, but disliked how the Pistons conducted themselves. The feud continued well after retirement. Jordan rarely softened his stance publicly. In later interviews, he kept returning to the 1991 handshake refusal. Thomas defended his actions while acknowledging how negatively they'd been received. Despite occasional cordial public interactions, neither man has ever suggested they became close friends, making this one of the longest-lasting personal feuds between two all-time NBA greats, Dwight Howard versus Stan Van Gundy. This became one of the most awkward coach and player relationships in NBA history because it didn't happen behind closed doors. It unfolded live on television while both men were still with the Orlando Magic. Van Gundy became Orlando's head coach before the 2007 to 2008 season. Under him, Dwight Howard developed into the league's premier center. Howard won 3 consecutive NBA Defensive Player of the Year awards from 2009 through 2011. Orlando reached the NBA Finals in 2009 and won 59 games in both 2008 to 2009 and 2009 to 2010. Howard was an annual MVP candidate. Then Howard started growing unhappy. He wanted more offensive freedom and more post touches. He believed the offense relied too heavily on outside shooting, and he reportedly became frustrated with Van Gundy's blunt communication style. Van Gundy had publicly criticized Howard for effort and maturity on multiple occasions. By the 2011 to 2012 season, reports surfaced that Howard wanted Van Gundy fired. Management was simultaneously trying to keep its franchise player while deciding its coach's future. Then came April 2012, one of the most uncomfortable press conference moments in NBA history. Van Gundy was asked directly whether Howard wanted him fired. He answered honestly, saying he'd been told Howard had asked ownership to replace him. Minutes later, Howard walked into the interview. He wrapped his arm around Van Gundy while cameras were still rolling and denied trying to get him fired. Van Gundy stood silently beside him, visibly uncomfortable. The clip became one of the most replayed interviews in league history because everyone watching knew what Van Gundy had just said moments before Howard walked in. Their working relationship never recovered. Every Orlando loss fueled more speculation. Following the season, the Magic dismissed Van Gundy. Howard was then traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. The organization lost both its franchise player and its head coach in the same offseason. Van Gundy later said his biggest issue was honesty, and that he simply answered reporters truthfully. Howard acknowledged he handled parts of the situation poorly, and admitted he was immature during that stage of his career. The feud became personal because it played out live. It destroyed trust completely, and both men left the same way they'd arrived together, except they left separately. Tony Parker versus Brent Barry. This feud had almost nothing to do with basketball. Brent Barry joined the San Antonio Spurs in 2004. Parker had already established himself as San Antonio's starting point guard. They won 2 NBA championships together, and Barry was widely respected as a veteran presence in the locker room. Parker married actress Eva Longoria in 2007, making them one of the NBA's most high-profile celebrity couples. Brent Barry was married to Erin Barry, who was well known around the Spurs organization and regularly attended team functions. In late 2010, reports surfaced that Parker had exchanged inappropriate text messages with Erin Barry. Multiple outlets reported the relationship became a significant issue within both marriages. There has never been public evidence of a physical affair, but both Parker and Erin Barry acknowledged exchanging messages that contributed to the collapse of their respective marriages. Eva Longoria filed for divorce from Parker in November 2010. She publicly stated she had discovered hundreds of text messages between Parker and another woman, later identified through widespread reporting as Erin Barry. Brent and Erin Barry also divorced around the same period. Because Barry and Parker had spent years as teammates, the situation was viewed as an extraordinary betrayal within the Spurs organization. It became one of the most infamous off-court controversies in NBA history. The Spurs reportedly worked hard internally to keep the matter from disrupting the team. What makes this feud notable, compared to some of the others on this list, is how quietly both sides handled it publicly. Barry largely avoided discussing Parker in the media. Parker generally declined to elaborate beyond what was already public. The Spurs organization refused to address it beyond acknowledging the personal situation. There were no confrontations, no suspensions, no press conferences where everything came out. The feud lived entirely in the personal consequences. 2 ended marriages, a permanently altered locker room dynamic, and a betrayal between teammates that went far beyond anything that happens on a basketball court. This one belongs in this conversation because the closeness of the relationship is what made it so damaging. D'Angelo Russell versus Nick Young. This became one of the most damaging teammate conflicts in recent NBA history because it didn't involve a fight or a trade demand. It involved a secret recording and a leaked video that destroyed trust inside the Lakers locker room. D'Angelo Russell was selected 2nd overall in the 2015 NBA draft. Nick Young was already an established veteran on the roster. Young became one of Russell's closest teammates during Russell's rookie season. In 2016, Russell secretly recorded Young during a conversation in which Young discussed being unfaithful to his fiancée, rapper Iggy Azalea. Young appeared completely unaware he was being recorded. The video was later leaked publicly. To this day, it has never been definitively established who actually released it. Russell has consistently denied intentionally leaking it. It didn't matter. Many Lakers players blamed Russell regardless. Multiple reports described teammates freezing him out. Veterans questioned whether Russell could be trusted with anything said inside the locker room. Trust deteriorated significantly. Young publicly admitted he was upset. He eventually said he forgave Russell, but the relationship was never the same. The incident extended well beyond basketball. Iggy Azalea ended her engagement with Young. The controversy became one of the biggest celebrity sports stories of 2016. Russell became known around the league as someone who had violated an unwritten code regarding locker room privacy, a reputation that followed him through his early career. He spent much of the following season answering questions about the recording instead of his development as a player. In 2017, Russell was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Young also left the Lakers shortly afterward. Basketball reasons drove the trade, but the recording incident remained one of the defining stories of Russell's time in Los Angeles. Years later, he acknowledged it was a major learning experience and said he matured considerably after leaving and came to understand what it actually meant to earn the trust of teammates. This feud stands out because nothing that happened between Russell and Young occurred on the basketball court. It happened in a private moment that became very public, and the damage from that spread much further than either of them. Jimmy Butler versus Karl Anthony Towns. This became one of the most personal teammate conflicts in modern NBA history because Butler didn't handle it quietly. He made it public intentionally, challenged the team's leadership directly, and then forced his way out. Butler was traded from the Chicago Bulls to the Minnesota Timberwolves in June 2017, reuniting with head coach Tom Thibodeau. He joined a young core led by Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Minnesota had missed the playoffs every season since 2004. In Butler's first season, the Timberwolves finished 47-35 and qualified for the postseason for the first time in 14 years. Behind the scenes, tensions had already started building. Butler believed Towns lacked the competitive intensity needed to win at the highest level. He became frustrated with what he viewed as inconsistent effort and a resistance to the harder culture Butler wanted to install. Multiple reports described friction between them throughout the 2017 to 2018 season. Then before the 2018 to 2019 season, Butler informed the Timberwolves he wanted to be traded, listing teams like the Clippers, Knicks, and Nets as preferred destinations. Minnesota didn't move him immediately. Butler remained with the team entering training camp despite publicly wanting out, and then came one of the most famous practices in NBA history. Butler returned after missing training camp and joined the third-string players. His group defeated the starters repeatedly. He spent the entire practice verbally challenging teammates, coaches, and executives. He reportedly confronted general manager Scott Layden directly during the scrimmage. Butler then sat down for a nationally televised interview with ESPN immediately after practice and questioned whether his teammates truly wanted to win. He said, "You can't win without me." Many of the comments were widely interpreted as aimed directly at Towns and Wiggins. Minnesota traded Butler to the Philadelphia 76ers in November 2018. After Butler left, Towns' scoring and efficiency improved significantly during the remainder of that season, and he became the undisputed centerpiece of the franchise. The feud didn't end there. In May 2021, Butler and Towns were both ejected after a confrontation during a Heat Timberwolves game, exchanging words before teammates and officials intervened. Butler's criticism of Towns' toughness remained one of the defining narratives of Towns' early career for years after Butler left Minnesota. Michael Jordan versus Kwame Brown. This feud became personal because of the specific position Jordan was in. He drafted Brown, he was simultaneously Brown's executive and teammate, and then he became one of the most demanding forces in Brown's professional life at a moment when Brown had almost no experience handling that kind of pressure. In 2001, the Washington Wizards selected Kwame Brown with the first overall pick. Brown became the first player ever drafted, first overall, directly out of high school. Jordan was president of basketball operations at the time and returned as a player shortly after making the selection. Brown entered the NBA as an 18-year-old expected to become the franchise's future. Jordan expected contributions immediately. Brown struggled with the speed, physicality, and confidence required at the professional level. Jordan became increasingly frustrated. Former teammates have consistently described Jordan as extraordinarily demanding, with Brown specifically. Jordan frequently criticized Brown during practices and regularly yelled at him in front of teammates. Multiple former Wizards players recalled Jordan intentionally trying to intimidate Brown physically during scrimmages. Brown later admitted he struggled under the constant pressure. During 4 seasons in Washington, Brown never averaged double figures in scoring. Injuries slowed his development. His confidence became a recurring topic for coaches and media. He never developed into the franchise player Washington expected. Jordan retired following the 2002 to 2003 season, and Brown was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in 2005. For many years, Brown rarely criticized Jordan publicly. That changed after retirement. Brown said Jordan regularly humiliated him during practices, and that many people underestimated what it was like for an 18-year-old to operate under Jordan's expectations. He argued Jordan's approach damaged his confidence more than it helped, while still acknowledging Jordan's greatness. Jordan has never publicly apologized for his demands. Former teammates said Jordan believed harsh criticism was necessary because that's how he himself had always been challenged. But Brown's perspective has always been that there's a difference between demanding greatness from a peer and doing it to a teenager who just entered the league, and that distinction is what made it personal. James Harden versus Daryl Morey. This became one of the most shocking executive and player conflicts in NBA history because Harden didn't keep it inside a front office. He stood in front of cameras overseas and said it direct. Daryl Morey acquired Harden from the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2012. Harden became the face of the Houston Rockets. Together, they built multiple championship contenders, won numerous division titles, and Harden won the 2018 NBA Most Valuable Player award under Morey's front office. Their relationship was widely viewed as one of the strongest player and executive partnerships in the league. Morey became president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers in 2020. In February 2022, Morey traded Ben Simmons to Brooklyn in a package that brought Harden to Philadelphia. During the 2022 offseason, Harden declined his player option and signed a new contract worth less than the maximum salary available to him. The move gave Philadelphia additional salary cap flexibility. Many around the league speculated Harden expected to be rewarded with a larger long-term deal later, though neither side publicly confirmed any arrangement. In the summer of 2023, Philadelphia did not offer the long-term maximum contract many expected. Harden exercised his player option and requested a trade. The 76ers did not immediately move him. Then in August 2023, while attending an Adidas event in China, Harden addressed the crowd and said, "Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be part of an organization that he's a part of." He repeated the statement twice. The comments immediately became one of the most famous public attacks by an active player against a front office executive. The NBA investigated whether Harden was alleging an improper promise regarding future contracts and concluded there was insufficient evidence of a prohibited agreement. Harden reported to training camp but remained unhappy. Philadelphia traded him to the Los Angeles Clippers in October 2023. Morey largely avoided matching Harden's public criticism and stated his responsibility was to do what was best for the organization. What made this feud personal was the decade of shared history, the public accusation made internationally, and the fact that one of the closest player and executive partnerships the NBA had seen ended with Harden calling Morey a liar by name in front of fans on another continent. Kawhi's game winner. It's Game 7 of the 2019 Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Toronto Raptors and Philadelphia 76ers are tied at 90-90 with 4.2 seconds left. Jimmy Butler had just hit a layup to tie it, and now the Raptors have one final possession to decide who goes home. The ball finds Kawhi Leonard on the right baseline corner, and he's got Joel Embiid, a 7-footer, right in his face. Kawhi rises up anyway, releases an off-balance fading jumper, and then something happens that nobody in that building is ready for. The ball hits the rim, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then it drops in. Final score, Toronto 92, Philadelphia 90. That's it. Series over. Raptors move on. And the most wild part is this had literally never happened before. That was the first Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. Not just rare, never done. Kawhi finished that game with 41 points on 16 of 39 shooting, which already tells you how hard Philadelphia was making everything for him. And yet he still delivered the most dramatic single shot in playoff history. The Raptors would go on to win the championship that same postseason. But it all started with the ball rattling around the rim 4 separate times before deciding to fall through. It's the most unpredictable ending in playoff history, and it's not particularly close. Clippers comeback. On April 15th, 2019, the Los Angeles Clippers trailed the Golden State Warriors by 31 points. The score was 94-63, and there were 7 minutes and 31 seconds left in the third quarter. The Warriors were the defending champions. They had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Nobody in that building thought the Clippers had any shot at winning. And that's exactly what makes what happened next so historically insane. The Clippers just kept chipping away. Their bench unit started generating offense in transition and in the half court. The deficit shrank to 20, then to 15, then to single digits heading into the fourth quarter. The crowd that had been completely checked out was suddenly locked back in. Then Landry Shamet hit a go-ahead three-pointer with 15.9 seconds remaining to give the Clippers the lead. Final score, Clippers 135, Warriors 131. That's a 31-point comeback against the best team on the planet. It became the largest comeback in NBA playoff history. To pull that off, the Clippers had to outscore a championship roster by 35-plus points over roughly 19 minutes. Teams leading by 30 in the second half almost never lose. There's basically no historical model for what happened here. It wasn't a one-play swing. It was a full-game reversal against a team that had no business letting it happen. T-Mac explosion. On December 9th, 2004, the Houston Rockets trailed the San Antonio Spurs 76-68 with approximately 35 seconds remaining. Normal teams don't come back from that. There's just no time. But Tracy McGrady was not playing a normal game. He hit a three-pointer, then he hit another three-pointer and got fouled, converting the 4-point play to make it a one-possession game. The Spurs, coached by Greg Popovich, one of the greatest late-game coaches in history, still couldn't close it out. McGrady hit a third three-pointer to get within one. Then with 1.7 seconds left, he hit a fourth three-pointer to win the game. Final score, Rockets 81, Spurs 80, 13 points in 35 seconds. 4 three-pointers on 4 shot attempts, plus 1 free throw. That's what he did against the Popovich coach team that knew exactly what was coming and still couldn't stop it. The Spurs had every advantage heading into the final minute. They had the lead, they had possession control, they had one of the most disciplined coaching staffs ever assembled, and Tracy McGrady dismantled all of it in half a minute. Down 8 with 35 seconds left is a loss. Every calculator, every model, every fan in that building tells you it's a loss. McGrady just decided it wasn't, and he backed it up with one of the most efficient scoring bursts in NBA history. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Jordan last shot, June 14th, 1998. Game 6 of the NBA Finals at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. The Chicago Bulls trailed the Utah Jazz 86-83 with under a minute left. Utah had home court, Utah had Karl Malone and John Stockton, and Utah had a 3-point lead late in a finals game. Chicago's second best player, Scottie Pippen, was barely functional with a back injury that limited him to 8 points. This series was on the verge of a Game 7. Then Michael Jordan hit a driving layup to cut it to 1. Utah had the ball, and Malone caught a post entry with a chance to extend the lead. Jordan came from behind and cleanly stripped him. No double team, just Jordan reading the play perfectly and taking the ball. Chicago didn't call timeout. They pushed it up the floor immediately, let Jordan isolate against Brian Russell on the right wing, and Jordan crossed him over. Russell slipped, and Jordan pulled up from mid-range with 5.2 seconds left. It went in. Bulls led 87-86. John Stockton launched a 3 at the buzzer that missed, and Chicago won the championship 4-2, completing their second three-peat. Jordan finished with 33 points that night. This was his final shot as a Chicago Bull. No announcements, no farewell tour, just one of the cleanest championship winning sequences in basketball history, executed on the road in elimination territory. Cavs, title swing, June 19th, 2016, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors, who had finished the regular season 73-9, the best record in NBA history. Cleveland had come back from 3-1, something no team had ever done in finals history. The game was tied 89-89 with under 2 minutes left, and both teams had gone scoreless for over 3 minutes. Then 2 plays happened, back-to-back, that nobody could have predicted. First, Andre Iguodala got a fast break and looked like he was about to put the Warriors ahead. LeBron James chased him down from behind and pinned the layup against the backboard to preserve the tie. Then with 53 seconds left, Kyrie Irving, isolated against Steph Curry, the league's most valuable player, stepped back from the right wing and buried a 3-pointer to give Cleveland a 92-89 lead. LeBron made 1 free throw to push it to 4. Golden State couldn't answer. Final score, Cavaliers 93, Warriors 89. LeBron recorded 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kyrie scored 26. Cleveland became the first franchise in finals history to win after trailing 3-1. The title was decided by a chase down block, a contested step back 3, and 2 defensive stops in the final 90 seconds. 3 separate plays, 0 margin for error, championship. Reggie, 8 points. May 7th, 1995, Madison Square Garden, Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 1. The New York Knicks led the Indiana Pacers 105-99 with 18.7 seconds remaining. That's 6 points with under 20 seconds left in a playoff game on the road. This should have been over. Reggie Miller hit a 3-pointer off an inbound pass to cut it to 3. Then the Knicks inbounded, and Miller stole the pass from Anthony Mason immediately. He dribbled back behind the 3-point line and hit another 3-pointer to tie the game at 105. The Garden went silent. Then the Knicks had the ball. John Starks went to the line and missed both free throws. Patrick Ewing grabbed the offensive rebound and missed the putback. Miller grabbed the rebound, got fouled with 7.5 seconds left, and made both free throws to give Indiana the lead at 107-105. Knicks couldn't get a shot off. Final, Pacers 107, Knicks 105. 8 points in 9 seconds. That's the official record for that sequence. And to make it happen, Miller needed 2 made threes, a live ball steal off an inbound, 2 missed clutch free throws from the opponent, a missed putback from a Hall of Fame center, a rebound, and 2 made free throws under maximum pressure. Every single one of those things had to happen in order. And they did. Nuggets comeback. In the 2020 NBA playoffs, inside the Orlando bubble, the Denver Nuggets did something that had never been done in NBA history. They came back from 3 games to 1, not once, but twice, in the same postseason. The first time was against the Utah Jazz in the first round. Down 3-1, Denver won 3 straight to advance. The second time was against the Los Angeles Clippers in the conference semifinals. Down 3-1 again, the Nuggets again won 3 straight. 2 separate 3-1 comebacks in the same playoff run. That had never happened before in league history, and it still hasn't happened since. Coming back from 3-1 even once was historically rare going into that postseason. Only a small number of teams had ever done it. Denver did it twice in back-to-back series, surviving 6 consecutive elimination games without losing a single one. Against the Clippers specifically, the Nuggets trailed by double digits in games 5, 6, and 7 before coming back in each. The Clippers had championship-level talent and came into that postseason as one of the favorites to win the title. Denver erased them 3 straight times when their season was on the line. The statistical compounding of winning 6 must-win games consecutively makes this one of the most improbable postseason runs ever documented. There's no reasonable probability model that would have predicted Denver doing this twice in the same year. Allen Corner 3. Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals. The San Antonio Spurs were seconds away from winning the championship. The Miami Heat were down 3 points with under 30 seconds left and no margin for anything to go wrong. LeBron James launched a potential tying 3 that missed. Chris Bosh crashed the glass, grabbed the offensive rebound, and immediately kicked it to Ray Allen in the right corner. Allen was backpedaling toward the baseline. He reset his feet, found the corner line without looking down, and released a 3-pointer with 5.2 seconds remaining. It went in, tied at 100-100. The championship trophy preparations that had already started on the sideline were immediately stopped. Spurs had no timeout. Game went to overtime, and Miami won 103-100 in overtime to force a Game 7, which they also won to claim the title. That single Allen shot represented a roughly 35% swing in win probability according to statistical models. Without it, San Antonio wins the championship in 6 games. What makes it so difficult to process is how many things had to go right simultaneously. LeBron had to miss. Bosh had to out-rebound Spurs players. The pass had to be instant and accurate, and Allen had to hit a pressure 3 while moving backward without setting his feet cleanly. Every piece of that sequence was low probability, and all of it worked. Lillard dagger. Game 6 of the 2014 first-round playoffs. Portland Trail Blazers and Houston Rockets. Portland led the series 3-2, so a win would close it out. Houston led 98-96 with 0.9 seconds on the clock. Under 1 second, Nicholas Batum inbounded the ball from the sideline, and Damian Lillard caught it and shot it in one motion. No dribble, no setup, just catch and fire in under a second. The ball went in. Blazers win 99-98. Series over. Lillard was in his second NBA season. The sheer time constraint alone makes this one of the most difficult shots ever attempted in a playoff setting. Catch and shoot game winners under 1 second require a perfect inbound pass, a perfect catch, and an immediate release with enough distance and arc to go in. There's no room for hesitation or adjustment. Lillard had none of either. The Rockets, who were facing elimination, went from expecting a Game 7 to watching the series end instantly on a shot that took less than a second from catch to release. There's no timeout, no recovery, no response. The series just ended, and the shot itself was from a distance, and under a time constraint that most players couldn't even attempt cleanly. Lillard made it look almost routine, which somehow makes it even more unsettling to think about. White putback, May 27, 2023, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6. The Miami Heat led the Boston Celtics 103-102 with 3 seconds remaining. Boston had possession, and Derek White inbounded the ball to Marcus Smart. Smart launched a 3-pointer with roughly 2 seconds left that hit the front rim and bounced up. White, who had just inbounded the ball and was re-entering the court, immediately sprinted toward the basket. He tracked the rebound mid-air and tipped the ball through the basket with 0.1 seconds left. Final, Celtics 104, Heat 103. The play required replay review to confirm the shot was legal, which is standard for buzzer beaters that close. White became only the second player in NBA history to hit a buzzer beater while trailing and facing elimination simultaneously. The sequence demanded that he start out of bounds, recognize the missed shot, instantly, get back inbounds, in time, track the ball in the air, and release a legal tip in less than a tenth of a second. Jimmy Butler had scored 13 points in the final minutes of that game alone to give Miami the lead, so the Celtics had already used up everything just to stay close. Then the inbound passer saved them anyway. Boston had been down 3-0 earlier in the series before forcing Game 6. It took the most improbable tip in to keep them alive. Evans heave. December 29th, 2010. Sacramento Kings and Memphis Grizzlies. Kings trailing 98-97 in the final seconds. The ball found Tyreke Evans in the backcourt. Evans dribbled across half court and then launched a shot from beyond midcourt, roughly 50 to 60 feet from the basket, just before the buzzer. It went in. Kings win 100-98. Full court buzzer beaters are among the rarest made shots in NBA history, and this one wasn't a set play. Evans didn't catch and fire from a designed inbound. He created the shot himself off the dribble from an extreme distance with no structural setup. The ball had to travel more than half the length of the floor, maintain correct arc and alignment, and enter the basket cleanly after Evans released it without a chance to properly set his feet. These shots succeed at a rate that makes them almost statistical anomalies every time one goes in. The Kings were trailing late, the situation was dire, and Evans did the one thing nobody realistically expects to work. He pulled up from 60 feet and made it. It's one of the longest game-winning shots in recorded NBA history. There's no model, no scout, and no coaching staff in the league that accounts for that shot as a legitimate offensive weapon. It happened anyway, and it gave Sacramento a win they had no business getting by any conventional measure of basketball probability. Magic Center, May 16th, 1980. NBA, Finals Game 6. Los Angeles Lakers versus Philadelphia 76ers. Lakers led the series 3-2, but before the game, Kareem was ruled out with a severe ankle injury suffered in Game 5. Kareem had been averaging 33.4 points per game in the series. He was their starting center, their primary scorer, and their defensive anchor. Without him, the Lakers turned to rookie Magic Johnson, a point guard listed at 6 feet 9 inches, to start at center. And then Magic Johnson played one of the most statistically extraordinary games in finals history. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He went 14 for 14 from the free throw line. Perfect. Jamal Wilkes added 37 points, a career high at the time. The Lakers won 123-107 and clinched the championship without their best player on the floor. Magic played all 5 positions during the game. He guarded opposing big men, initiated offense from the point, and finished in the post. He became the only rookie in NBA history to win Finals Most Valuable Player. The unpredictability here is layered. The Lakers lost their best player before an elimination game. A rookie point guard started at center in the final, and then that rookie delivered a 42.15 rebound performance to win a title. None of that is supposed to happen. All of it did. Durant foot. Game 7 of the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks. Nets trailing 109-107 in the final seconds. Kevin Durant isolated at the top of the key against PJ Tucker and rose for a turnaround fadeaway jumper as time expired. The ball went in. The arena exploded. It looked like Durant had just hit a series-winning 3-pointer. Then the replay came back, and Durant's toe was on the 3-point line. The shot was ruled a 2, tying the game at 109-109 with 0.3 seconds remaining. Game went to overtime, and Milwaukee won 115-111. Durant had scored 48 points in that game, the most points ever recorded in a Game 7 in NBA history. And it still wasn't enough because of where his foot landed. Durant wears a size 18 shoe. The difference between series over in regulation and overtime, which Brooklyn lost, came down to centimeters of foot placement on one of the most high-pressure shots in recent playoff history. Same shot, 1 inch back, and the Nets win instantly. The way it landed, the Nets went to overtime, exhausted from the effort it took to force the situation, and they couldn't hold on. An entire playoff series, all 7 games, all the momentum, all the history, flipped by a toe on a line. It's one of the cruelest margins in postseason history. Luka stepped back. Game 4 of the 2020 Western Conference first round. Orlando Bubble. Dallas Mavericks versus Los Angeles Clippers. Overtime, game tied 133-133. Mavericks without Kristaps Porzingis due to injury. Luka had the ball at the top of the floor in isolation. He was 21 years old. He stepped back from approximately 28 feet, contested by multiple defenders switching onto him, and released a three-pointer as time expired. Mavericks win 135-133. Series tied 2-2. Instead of Dallas falling behind 3-1, Luka finished that game with 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists. That's the highest scoring playoff, triple-double performance in recent NBA history. The shot itself required everything going wrong for the Clippers simultaneously. No screen, no ball movement, just Luka creating space at distance against a defense that knew exactly what was coming and still couldn't stop it. Over time, buzzer beaters are inherently rare because both teams have already spent multiple periods figuring each other out. Adding the distance, the defensive contest, and the fatigue factor of playing extra basketball makes this type of shot succeed almost never. Luka was also playing on a neutral court in the bubble with no home crowd advantage to lean on. Everything pointed toward this shot missing. 43 points, 17 boards, 13 dimes, and a walk-off overtime 3 from 28 feet. At 21 years old, Lamb Heave, March 24th, 2019, Charlotte Hornets and Toronto Raptors, regular season. Raptors led 114-112 with 3.6 seconds left. A win felt automatic for Toronto. The Hornets inbounded the ball after a timeout, and the ball reached Jeremy Lamb near midcourt. Lamb took one dribble and launched from approximately 50-plus feet as the buzzer sounded. It went in. Hornets win 115-114. That's a half-court buzzer beater that flipped the game from loss to win in under 4 seconds with no real alternative plan. The Raptors had taken the lead late. They had defended the situation correctly, but a shot from that distance doesn't follow the rules of correct defense because the shooter isn't supposed to make it. Half-court attempts go in at a rate so low, they're essentially treated as coin flips, except worse. Success from that range is closer to a long shot than any standard offensive possession. Lamb didn't have time to advance the ball further, so the only option was to launch from wherever he was standing and hope. The fact that it went in isn't a reflection of skill at that distance. It's a reflection of just how wildly unpredictable single possession endings can be. The Raptors were one of the best teams in the NBA that season on their way to winning the championship. They lost a regular season game because of a 50-foot heave from a player who barely had time to gather himself. Lillard, OKC. April 23rd, 2019, first round, Game 5. Portland Trail Blazers and Oklahoma City Thunder. Portland led the series 3-1, meaning a win would end it. The game was tied 115-115 with under 10 seconds left. Damian Lillard had the ball near half court, guarded by Paul George. He didn't call a play. He didn't come off a screen. He just dribbled down the clock, pulled up from 37 feet, and released the shot at the buzzer. Blazers win 118-115. Series over. Portland eliminated Oklahoma City 4-1. Lillard had already scored 50 points in that game and made 10 three-pointers, which was a franchise playoff record. So when he pulled up from 37 feet to end it, he was doing so as the hottest player in that building by a significant margin. Paul George was in his face at distance, and it still didn't matter. This was also Lillard's second career series-ending buzzer beater after hitting one against Houston in 2014. He became the only player besides Michael Jordan with multiple series-ending field goals. The Oklahoma City 2018 to 2019 roster was the final time Russell Westbrook and Paul George played together. Lillard ended their era with a 37-foot step back at the buzzer. Oklahoma City had swept Portland in the regular season that year, winning all 4 matchups. Lillard got the last word anyway. Brunson closer. Jalen Brunson in a playoff elimination game, controlling the final possession with the game tied or within 1 possession in the final seconds. Brunson isolated, created his own shot in the closing seconds, and delivered the game winner to eliminate Detroit from the series. That's the structure of one of the most pressure-packed situations in basketball. Elimination games are different. The defensive intensity is higher, the offensive execution becomes more difficult, and the margin for error disappears entirely. What makes a single possession game winner in an elimination game so difficult to execute is that the defense doesn't have to stop you forever. They just have to stop you once. Brunson created scoring opportunity under that exact pressure, converted it, and ended the series immediately on that possession. Final possession elimination game winners occur far less frequently than standard game winners because of the weight of the moment. Every coaching staff in the league designs their defense to take away the primary score in closing situations, collapsing coverage, switching everything, selling out to contest. Brunson got a shot off anyway and converted it. The finality of it is what makes it register historically. There's no overtime, no Game 7, no second chance for Detroit, one possession, one shot, series over. Players who can consistently create in those moments are among the rarest in the sport, and Brunson delivered in exactly the situation where most players' execution falls apart. It's as direct a definition of clutch as the game produces. Anderson misses, June 7, 1995, NBA Finals, Game 1, Orlando Magic and Houston Rockets. Orlando led 110-107 with 10.5 seconds remaining. The Magic had the best record in the Eastern Conference that season, 57 wins, and this was their first finals game in franchise history. Nick Anderson was fouled by Robert Horry with the game in hand. Anderson, a 70.4% free throw shooter that season, stepped to the line, needing just one make to essentially end it. He missed the first. He missed the second. Orlando grabbed the offensive rebound. Anderson was fouled again, and he missed the third free throw. Then he missed the fourth. 4 consecutive missed free throws by an above-average free throw shooter. Houston gained possession, and Kenny Smith hit a three-pointer with 1.6 seconds left to tie the game. Overtime. Hakeem Olajuwon hit a game-winning tip in with 0.3 seconds remaining. Rockets win 120-118 in overtime. Houston swept the series 4-0. The statistical reality of missing 4 consecutive free throws at 70.4% is genuinely low. Each miss was improbable individually. All 4 in sequence is nearly incomprehensible, and the fallout was real. Anderson's free throw percentage dropped significantly after this game and never fully recovered. Orlando's best chance at a championship vanished at the free throw line, with the series on the verge of tilting their direction in Game 1. Fisher, 0.4. Game 5 of the 2004 Western Conference Semifinals. Los Angeles Lakers and San Antonio Spurs tied 2-2. Kobe Bryant gave the Lakers a 72-71 lead with about 11 seconds left. Tim Duncan answered with a highly contested fadeaway over Shaq to put the Spurs up 73-72 with 0.4 seconds remaining. 3 consecutive timeouts followed. 1 Lakers, 1 Spurs, 1 Lakers again. Then Gary Payton inbounded the ball to Derek Fisher, who caught it, turned, and shot in 0.4 seconds total with no dribble. The ball went in. Lakers win 74-73. The Spurs immediately disputed whether Fisher released the shot before the clock expired, and officials reviewed and confirmed the shot was legal. 0.4 seconds is widely considered the absolute minimum window to catch and shoot cleanly. That's not just a fast release. That's the edge of what's physically possible in the time allotted. And Fisher nailed it immediately after Tim Duncan had just hit one of the most difficult shots of that era. On the other, 2 consecutive extreme difficulty shots in under 30 seconds, and the second one won the game. Lakers took a 3-2 series lead and won the series in 6 games. The sequence was Duncan over O'Neal, timeout chaos, then Fisher in under half a second. It's one of the shortest game-winning windows ever recorded in NBA playoff history. Rose winner. Game 3 of the 2015 Eastern Conference Semifinals. Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers tied 1-1 in the series. J.R. Smith hit a three-pointer with about 10 seconds left to tie the game at 96-96. Bulls inbounded with approximately 3 seconds remaining. Derrick Rose caught the ball, took 1 dribble right, and launched a three-pointer from approximately 26 feet. The ball banked off the glass as time expired. Bulls win 99-96. Rose scored 30 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, and dished 7 assists in that game. It was the first Bulls playoff game winner in final seconds since Michael Jordan in the 1998 finals. Rose himself confirmed afterward that he did not call the bank off the glass. It went off the backboard accidentally and still fell through. A banked three-pointer from 26 feet at the buzzer of a playoff game, unintentionally, against a defense that included LeBron James and the Cavaliers. The shot was off balance. It was contested by Tristan Thompson, and the bank angle was not a designed outcome. Game winners rely on execution. This one relied on improvised movement, off-balance mechanics, and an unplanned glass angle, all working simultaneously. Chicago took a 2-1 series lead. The Cavaliers responded with LeBron's own buzzer beater in Game 4. But in Game 3, Derrick Rose delivered one of the most unlikely shot types imaginable in one of the highest pressure moments of that postseason. LJ 4-point. Game 3 of the 1999 Eastern Conference Finals, New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers. Context matters here because the Knicks had no business being in that series. They were the number 8 seed and they were playing without Patrick Ewing, who was injured. With 11.9 seconds left, the Knicks trailed 91-88. 3 points, no timeouts. Larry Johnson caught the ball beyond the three-point line and shot with defender Antonio Davis, making contact during the shooting motion. The whistle blew. Continuation was called. Johnson made the three-pointer and then converted the free throw to complete a 4-point play. Knicks win 92-91. The Pacers disputed the timing of the foul call and whether the contact occurred before or during the release. The officials confirmed it stood. 3-point deficit, 1 possession, 1 play, 4-point. Game flip. The statistical rarity of a 4-point play itself is significant. At the time, they were among the rarest outcomes in NBA basketball. Pulling one off in the conference finals while trailing by 3 with no timeouts makes it exponentially more improbable. The entire sequence depended on a referee ruling a contested foul on the exact frame of the shot motion, Johnson making the 3, and then converting the pressure free throw. All 3 had to succeed. They did. New York went on to win that series and became the first number 8 seed in NBA history to reach the final. Moses Malone. Moses Malone went straight from high school to professional basketball in 1974, becoming the first modern player to skip college entirely and join the Utah Stars of the ABA. That decision alone changed the sport forever. When the ABA merged with the NBA in 1976, Malone hadn't just survived the transition, he'd already established himself as one of the best young rebounders on the planet. He went on to play 21 professional seasons total, 19 of them in the NBA. 3 times he won the Most Valuable Player award in 1979, 1982, and 1983, putting him in the same tier as Kareem, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Nikola Jokic. He finished with over 29,000 career points and over 17,800 career rebounds, ranking top 10 all-time in both categories. During the 1981-82 season with the Houston Rockets, he averaged 31.1 points and 14.7 rebounds per game, becoming the first player since Kareem to average over 30 points and 14 rebounds in a season. Then in 1982-83, he joined the Philadelphia 76ers and famously predicted his team would go foe, sweeping every playoff series. They went 12-1 in the postseason instead, and Malone averaged 26 points and 15.8 rebounds in the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers to win finals. Most Valuable Player. He also grabbed 7,382 offensive rebounds, the most in NBA history by a massive margin. 13 All-Star appearances, 8 All-NBA selections, 6 rebounding titles, Hall of Fame, 50th and 75th anniversary teams. That's the resume of one of the greatest to ever do it, Tony Parker. Tony Parker was the 28th pick in the 2001 NBA draft, and that's almost laughable in hindsight. He spent 17 seasons with the San Antonio Spurs and became the engine of one of the most successful dynasties in league history. 4 championships, 6 All-Star appearances, 4 All-NBA selection, a Hall of Fame induction in 2023, and most importantly, the 2007 Finals Most Valuable Player award, which made him the first European-born player to ever win that honor. He averaged 24.5 points per game in that finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers at just 25 years old. His signature teardrop floater became one of the most copied shots in basketball, and his finishing ability around the rim was elite for a point guard. In 2011-12, Parker averaged 18.3 points and 7.7 assists. In 2012-13, he bumped that to 20.3 points and 7.6 assists, while finishing 5th in Most Valuable Player voting. That same year, he hit a massive shot over LeBron James in Game 1 of the Finals. He finished his NBA career with over 19,000 points and over 7,000 assists, a combination only a small number of guards in history have reached. He's also the all-time leader in both playoff points and playoff assists in Spurs franchise history across 226 postseason games. Internationally, Parker led France to the 2013 Eurobasket gold medal and won tournament Most Valuable Player. He's been overlooked, partly because Tim Duncan and Manu shared that dynasty spotlight. But Parker's individual resume stands completely on its own. Alex English. Alex English was a second-round pick in the 1976 NBA draft, and from 1980 through 1989, he scored more points than anyone else in the entire league. More than Larry Bird, more than Magic Johnson, more than Michael Jordan, more than Kareem. 21,018 points in a single decade, and somehow, he's still not a household name. English averaged at least 25 points per game in 8 consecutive seasons. He won the scoring title in 1982 to 83 with 28.4 points per game. He led the Denver Nuggets to 9 straight playoff appearances from 1981 through 1990. He finished as Denver's all-time leading scorer with 21,645 franchise points, and he ended his career with 25,613 total points, one of the highest totals in league history at the time of his retirement. His efficiency was remarkable too. Despite being a perimeter-oriented forward, English frequently shot above 50% from the field. His game wasn't about highlight dunks or physical dominance. It was built on mid-range jumpers, baseline cuts, finger rolls, and off-ball movement. In 1984 to 85 alone, he averaged 27.9 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists. He earned 3 All-NBA selections and a Hall of Fame induction in 1997. He was never on the NBA 75th anniversary team, which is genuinely hard to explain given he outscored every player in the entire league across the whole decade of the 1980s. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier was drafted 5th overall by the New York Knicks in 1967 and immediately became the defensive heartbeat of the franchise. He earned all-defensive first-team honors in each of the award's first 7 seasons, which tells you everything you need to know about how dominant he was on that end. He also led the only 2 championship teams in Knicks history, winning titles in 1970 and 1973. In Game 7 of the 1970 Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, Frazier delivered one of the greatest point guard performances in finals history. 36 points, 19 assists, 7 rebounds, shooting 12 for 17 from the field and 12 for 12 from the free throw line. That performance has barely faded from the record books decades later. For his career, Frazier averaged 18.9 points, 6.1 assists, and 5.9 rebounds per game, while finishing with 15,581 career points and 5,040 assists. Those numbers came in an era with no three-point line and heavy hand checking, meaning efficiency was harder to maintain. He made 7 All-Star teams, earned 4 All-NBA first-team selections, and was named to both the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1987 and had his number 10 retired by the Knicks. Frazier built his reputation through steals before steals were even officially tracked. He's often remembered more for his broadcasting style and fashion than his actual dominance, but he was the best player on one championship team and the co-best player on another. Joe Dumars. Joe Dumars was selected 18th overall in the 1985 NBA draft and spent his entire 14-year career with the Detroit Pistons. No free agency jumps, no team hopping, just 14 straight seasons of being one of the best two-way guards in basketball. He won back-to-back championships in 1989 and 1990. In the 1989 finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, he averaged 27.3 points per game while shooting over 57% from the field and won finals most valuable player over his own teammate, Isaiah Thomas. He averaged over 20 points per game in 5 different seasons. He earned 4 all-defensive first-team selections and was one of the few guards Michael Jordan himself praised for guarding him with integrity and skill. Dumars averaged 16.1 points and 4.5 assists for his career, finishing with 16,401 career points and 4,612 assists. He made 6 All-Star teams and 3 All-NBA third-team appearances. He won the inaugural NBA Sportsmanship Award in 1996, and the award was later officially renamed the Joe Dumars Trophy. After retiring, he became Detroit's president of basketball operations and built the 2004 championship team, also winning Executive of the Year in 2003. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006 and had his number 4 retired. He was named to the 50th anniversary team. He's underrated because he shared a roster with bigger personalities and never sought attention. But finals, most valuable player, elite defense, and 2 rings is a combination very few shooting guards in history can match. Dave DeBusschere. Dave DeBusschere became a player, coach for the Detroit Pistons at just 24 years old, which should give you a sense of how much the league respected his maturity and understanding of the game. He was traded to the New York Knicks in December of 1968, and that trade changed everything for New York. The Knicks became contenders almost immediately after adding his rebounding and interior toughness to one of the most balanced starting lineups in league history. They won 60 games in 1969 to 70 and 57 in 1972 to 73, capturing championships in both 1970 and 1973. DeBusschere averaged 16.1 points and 11.0 rebounds per game for his career, finishing with 16,043 points and 10,424 career rebounds. He earned 8 All-Star appearances and 6 All-Defensive First-Team selections. He's on the 50th anniversary team and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1983. His number 22 is retired by the Knicks. Beyond basketball, DeBusschere also pitched for the Chicago White Sox in Major League Baseball, making him one of the rare athletes to compete at the professional level in both sports. After playing, he became commissioner of the ABA and helped oversee the merger with the NBA. His impact on the sport extended far beyond what any box score could show. He was the defensive anchor and emotional tone setter of 2 championship teams in one of the league's biggest market, and he still doesn't get nearly enough credit for it. Adrian Dantley. Adrian Dantley was selected 6th overall in the 1976 draft by the Buffalo Braves after winning Olympic gold with the United States national team that same year. He won Rookie of the Year in 1977 and never really stopped being excellent from that point forward. He won the scoring title in 1980 to 81 at 30.7 points per game, and again in 1983 to 84 at 30.6 points per game, also averaging 30.3 in 1981 to 82. That's 3 separate 30-point seasons. His career average of 24.3 points per game ranks among the highest in NBA history, and he did it while shooting 54% from the field for his career. In 1983 to 84, he averaged 30.6 points on 55.8% shooting, an almost impossible combination for a perimeter-oriented forward. He attempted 886 free throws that season and made 761 of them. He led the Utah Jazz to playoff appearances before the John Stockton and Karl Malone era even began. He finished with 23,177 career points, more than Isaiah Thomas, Scottie Pippen, Kawhi Leonard, and Tracy McGrady. He made 6 All-Star teams and earned 2 All-NBA second-team selections. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. He played his game through pump fakes, footwork, and elite body control, rather than flashy athleticism, which probably explains why casual fans don't talk about him the way his numbers demand. Bob McAdoo. Bob McAdoo was the 2nd overall pick in the 1972 draft by the Buffalo Braves and won Rookie of the Year in 1973. Then from 1973 to 74 through 1975 to 76, he put together one of the most dominant 3-year stretches any big man has ever produced. He averaged 30.6 points and 15.1 rebounds, then 34.5 points and 14.1 rebounds to win Most Valuable Player, then 31.1 points and 12.4 rebounds. 3 straight scoring titles, a Most Valuable Player award in 1975, 5 All-Star appearances, and those 34.5 points per game with 14.1 rebounds and 2.1 blocks in 1974 to 75 remain one of the greatest statistical seasons ever recorded by a big man. What makes his story unique is what came after the peak. McAdoo reinvented himself entirely, joining the Los Angeles Lakers and accepting a bench role behind Kareem, Magic Johnson, and James Worthy. He won championships in 1982 and 1985. After the NBA, he went to Europe and won 2 EuroLeague championships and a EuroLeague Final Four Most Valuable Player award. Very few players in basketball history can point to an NBA Most Valuable Player, multiple NBA titles, multiple scoring crowns, and major European championships, all on the same resume. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2000 and was named to the 75th anniversary team. His peak numbers compare with any legend the sport has ever produced. Rick Barry, Rick Barry was the second overall pick in the 1965 draft by the San Francisco Warriors and immediately became one of the most complete players in the game. In 1966-67, he led the NBA in scoring with 35.6 points per game, while also averaging 9.2 rebounds and 3.6 assists. That same season, he led San Francisco to the NBA Finals. He later joined the ABA and won the scoring title there in 1968-69, proving he could dominate in both leagues. His greatest moment came in 1975, when he led the Golden State Warriors to a championship over the heavily favored Washington Bullets, sweeping them in the finals while averaging 29.5 points per game and winning Finals Most Valuable Player. The 1975 Warriors had no other first-team All-NBA stars, making it one of the most impressive solo-led title runs in league history. That same season, Barry averaged 30.6 points, 6.2 rebounds, 6.2 assists, and 2.9 steals, also leading the league in steals. He finished with 24,192 NBA points at 24.8 per game and over 25,000 combined professional points across both leagues. He's also one of the most accurate free throw shooters in history, shooting approximately 90% for his career, using his famous underhand technique. Barry earned 12 All-Star selections across both leagues, a Hall of Fame induction in 1987, and a spot on the 75th anniversary team. His split career across two leagues likely cost him the broader recognition he deserved. Dave Cowan. Dave Cowens was the fourth overall pick in the 1970 draft by the Boston Celtics and won the Most Valuable Player award in 1972-73, averaging 20.5 points, 16.2 rebounds, and 4.1 assists across all 82 games, while leading Boston to 68 wins, a record at the time. He won that award over Kareem. He won 2 championships with the Celtics in 1974 and 1976. In the 1974 finals against Milwaukee, he averaged 20.6 points and 12.0 rebounds as Boston won in 7 games, with Game 6 going to double overtime. He made 8 All-Star teams, earned 3 All-NBA first-team selections, 3 All-Defensive first-team selections, and was named to both the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1991 and had his number 18 retired. For his career, Cowens averaged 17.6 points, 14.0 rebounds, and 3.8 assists, finishing with 17,004 points, 13,516 rebounds, and 3,239 assists. What separated him was his versatility. At 6 feet 9 inches, he regularly brought the ball up the floor, passed at a high level, defended multiple positions, and ran the floor in transition. He also served as player coach during the 1978-79 season and famously left the team during 1979-80 to work as a taxi driver before returning later that year. He was overshadowed by the era's more famous centers, but his resume is as strong as almost anyone at the position. Bob Pettit. Bob Pettit was the second overall pick in the 1954 draft and played his entire career with the Milwaukee and St. Louis Hawks. He won 2 Most Valuable Player awards in 1955-56 and 1958-59. He made 11 All-Star teams, won 10 All-NBA first-team selections, and was named to the 25th, 35th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1970. He retired as the NBA's all-time leading scorer and was the first player in league history to score more than 20,000 points. He was also the first player to average at least 20 points and 10 rebounds for an entire career. His career averages of 26.4 points and 16.2 rebounds per game are historically elite numbers at any position. In 1958, he led the St. Louis Hawks to the only championship in franchise history by defeating Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics. In Game 6, he scored 50 points, recording 19 field goals and 12 free throws to clinch the title. That remains one of the greatest finals performances ever. He averaged at least 24 points in every single season and at least 12 rebounds in every season. He competed directly against Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor, and was considered the premier power forward of his era. His numbers hold up against any player who ever played the position, yet limited footage and the passage of time have caused many modern fans to underestimate just how dominant he was. Wes Unseld. Wes Unseld was the second overall pick in the 1968 draft, and in his very first season did something only Wilt Chamberlain and Willis Reed had ever done, winning both Most Valuable Player and Rookie of the Year in the same year. As a rookie, he averaged 13.8 points and 18.2 rebounds, and single-handedly lifted the Baltimore Bullets from 36 wins to 57 wins, a 21-win improvement in one season. For his career, he averaged 10.8 points, 14.0 rebounds, and 3.9 assists, finishing with 10,624 points, 13,769 rebounds, and 3,822 assists. He was listed at 6 feet 7 inches and was often the shortest starting center in the league, yet he dominated the glass through extraordinary strength and elite positioning. His signature skill was the outlet pass. After securing a defensive rebound, Unseld would fire full court passes to trigger fast breaks instantly, creating easy offense without a dribble. That style influenced future centers, including Bill Walton and Nikola Jokic. In 1978, he led the Washington Bullets to the franchise's only NBA championship, defeating the Seattle Supersonics in 7 games. He averaged 9.4 points, 11.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists in that finals, and won Finals Most Valuable Player. He made 5 All-Star teams, earned 1 All-NBA first-team selection, and was named to both the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1988 and had his number 41 retired. His contributions were almost always subtle, but the wins were never subtle at all. Kevin Johnson was the 7th overall pick in the 1987 draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers and was traded to the Phoenix Suns in 1988 in a deal involving Larry Nance. That trade completely transformed Phoenix. Johnson became one of the first guards in league history to average at least 20 points and 12 assists per game in back-to-back seasons, doing it in 1988 to 89 with 20.4 points and 12.2 assists on 50.5% shooting, and again in 1989 to 90 with 22.5 points and 11.4 assists on 49.9% shooting. In that second season, he finished 5th in Most Valuable Player voting. For his career, he averaged 18.7 points and 9.1 assists per game on 49.3% shooting, finishing with 17,529 career points and 9,214 assists. He helped lead the Suns to 62 wins in 1992 to 93 and into the finals against the Chicago Bulls, where he averaged 17.2 points and 7.8 assists across the series. He was a 3-time All-Star and 5-time All-NBA selection and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2021. He also won Olympic gold in 1994 with the United States national team at the FIBA World Championship. Johnson's first step was one of the quickest in the game, and he was famous for finishing over much larger defenders, including Hakeem, in the 1994 playoffs. Injuries limited his longevity, and playing in Phoenix before the internet era cost him national recognition. But at his absolute peak, he was one of the most dominant offensive point guards in the entire sport. Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol was the 3rd overall pick in the 2001 draft, selected by Atlanta and immediately traded to Memphis. He became the first foreign-born player to win NBA Rookie of the Year, and then quietly built one of the most complete resumes in modern big man history. He led Memphis to 3 consecutive playoff appearances from 2004 through 2006, the franchise's first playoff trips ever. In February 2008, he was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, and what happened next was immediate. The Lakers made the finals in 2008, won the championship in 2009, and won again in 2010. In the 2009 finals against Orlando, Pau averaged 18.6 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 2.0 blocks. In the 2010 finals against Boston, he averaged 18.6 points and 11.6 rebounds, including 19 points and 18 rebounds in a decisive Game 7, one of the defining performances of that entire era. He made 4 consecutive All-Star teams from 2009 through 2012 and earned 4 All-NBA selections. At age 34, with the Chicago Bulls in 2014 to 15, he still averaged 18.5 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks, while earning all NBA second-team honors. He finished with 20,894 points, 11,305 rebounds, 3,925 assists, and 1,941 blocks. Internationally with Spain, he won 1 FIBA World Cup gold, 3 Eurobasket golds, and was named 2006 FIBA World Cup Most Valuable Player. He and his brother Mark are the first brothers to both win NBA championships. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2023, Grant Hill. Grant Hill was the 3rd overall pick in the 1994 draft by Detroit after leading Duke University to 2 National Collegiate Athletic Association championships. He shared Rookie of the Year in 1995 with Jason Kidd and immediately became one of the most complete players in the league. From 1994 to 95 through 1999 to 2000, he averaged 21.6 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 6.3 assists per game across his first 6 seasons. In 1996 to 97, that looked like 21.4 points, 9.0 rebounds, and 7.3 assists. In 1999 to 2000, it was 25.8 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 5.2 assists, while finishing 3rd in Most Valuable Player voting. He led all players in All-Star fan voting in 1997, 1998, 1999, and 2000 during the peak of Michael Jordan's era. His combination of ball handling, passing, rebounding, mid-range scoring, and transition play drew frequent comparisons to Scottie Pippen and Magic Johnson. In 2000, he signed with the Orlando Magic, and severe ankle injuries immediately derailed what looked like an all-time trajectory. From 2000 through 2007, he missed huge portions of multiple seasons and underwent several surgeries, but Hill refused to stop playing. He reinvented himself as a veteran contributor with the Phoenix Suns and later the Los Angeles Clippers, ultimately completing 19 NBA seasons and more than 1,000 regular season games. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2018 and earned 7 All-Star selections and 5 All-NBA picks. His peak before the injuries was genuinely comparable to the greatest all-around forwards the sport has ever seen, Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups was the 3rd overall pick in the 1997 draft and spent the early part of his career bouncing between the Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, Denver Nuggets, and Minnesota Timberwolves before finding his home in Detroit. Once he got there, everything clicked. In 2004, the Pistons defeated a Los Angeles Lakers team featuring Shaq, Kobe Bryant, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton, one of the most talented rosters ever assembled. Billups averaged 21.0 points and 5.2 assists in that finals, while shooting 50.9% from the field, 47.1% from 3, and 92.9% from the free throw line, including a 38-point performance in Game 3. He won Finals Most Valuable Player. From 2003 through 2009, Billups reached 7 straight conference finals, first with Detroit through 2008 and then with Denver in 2009. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2024 and had his number 1 retired by the Pistons. He made 5 All-Star teams and earned 3 All-NBA selections and 2 All-Defensive second-team nods. He won Olympic gold with Team USA in 2010. His career totals include 15,802 points, 5,636 assists, a 38.7% three-point rate, and an 89.4% free throw percentage, which was 6th highest in NBA history at the time of his retirement. He never averaged 20 points per game in a season, but he won when it mattered most, repeatedly, for over a decade. Artis Gilmore. Artis Gilmore was the first overall pick in the 1971 ABA draft and retired as one of the most statistically dominant centers in the history of professional basketball. He ended his NBA career with a 59.9% field goal percentage, which stood as the all-time record for years. His combined ABA and NBA totals include 24,941 points, 16,330 rebounds, and 2,747 NBA blocks alone. As a rookie in 1971 to 72, he won both ABA Most Valuable Player and Rookie of the Year after averaging 23.8 points, 17.8 rebounds, and 5.0 assists per game. In 1975, he led the Kentucky Colonels to the ABA championship, averaging 28.0 points and 18.0 rebounds in the finals against the Indiana Pacers. Before any of that, he took Jacksonville University, a small school program, all the way to the 1970 National Collegiate Athletic Association Championship game, where they faced Sidney Wicks and the UCLA Bruins. He was 7 feet 2 inches tall with a massive wingspan, an elite shot blocker, and one of the most durable and efficient scorers in the sport. He earned 11 total All-Star selections across both leagues, 6 of them in the NBA. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011 because so much of his prime came in the ABA, which often gets dismissed historically. Gilmore never got the same recognition as the centers who played exclusively in the NBA, which is a significant oversight given his numbers. Elvin Hayes. Elvin Hayes was the first overall pick in the 1968 draft by the San Diego Rockets. Before he ever played a professional game, he was already legendary. In 1968, at the University of Houston, he outplayed Lou Altendorf, who later became Kareem, in the nationally televised Game of the Century, scoring 39 points and grabbing 15 rebounds in an upset over the top-ranked UCLA Bruins. That game is still one of the most watched college basketball broadcasts in history. His NBA career was just as remarkable. He finished with 27,313 career points and 16,279 career rebounds, retiring third in the league's history in both categories. He averaged 21.0 points and 12.5 rebounds per game. He won the scoring title as a rookie in 1968-69 with 28.4 points per game. He averaged at least 20 points in 12 different seasons and at least 10 rebounds in 15 seasons. He played in 1,303 regular season games and missed only 9 total over 16 seasons, playing 82 games in 12 different campaigns. In 1978, he and Wes Unseld formed a Hall of Fame frontcourt that led Washington to the franchise's only NBA championship, defeating the Seattle Supersonics in 7 games. He made 12 All-Star teams, earned 6 All-NBA first-team selections, and 3 All-Defensive first-team nods. He was named to the 50th and 75th anniversary teams and inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1990. Both the Houston Rockets and Washington Wizards retired his number. His production across every statistical category places him among the greatest forwards ever. Hal Greer. Hal Greer was drafted by the Syracuse Nationals in 1958 and became the face of the franchise when it relocated to Philadelphia in 1963, transforming into the 76ers. He went on to become the franchise's all-time leading scorer for decades, finishing his career with 21,586 career points at 19.2 per game, along with 5,089 assists. From 1961 to 62 through 1969 to 70, he averaged at least 20 points per game in 8 of 9 seasons. His signature jump shot and one-handed set shot were among the most effective perimeter weapons of his era. In 1966 to 67, he helped build one of the most dominant teams ever assembled. That Philadelphia squad won 68 regular season games and ended the Boston Celtics' 8-year championship streak. They then defeated the San Francisco Warriors in the finals, with Greer averaging over 26 points per game throughout. Greer also held the NBA record for consecutive games played at 540, demonstrating the kind of durability that's almost impossible to replicate. He made 10 All-Star teams and earned 7 All-NBA selections. He won the 1967 championship and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1982. He was named to both the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. He's often overshadowed by Wilt Chamberlain, who was his teammate in Philadelphia, but Greer was an elite guard completely in his own right and deserves to be mentioned among the greatest shooting guards in basketball history. Gus Williams. Gus Williams was selected 20th overall in the 1975 draft by the Golden State Warriors and won a championship in his rookie season, though in a reserve role. His real prime came with the Seattle Supersonics, where he became one of the fastest and most explosive guards in the game and earned the nickname The Wizard. In 1978 to 79, he averaged 23.4 points, 6.0 assists, and 2.2 steals, and led Seattle to the NBA championship. In the 1979 finals against the Washington Bullets, he averaged approximately 29 points per game as the leading scorer and primary offensive creator on the title team. Seattle had also reached the finals the year before in 1978 and came within 1 game of winning it. From 1977 to 78 through 1983 to 84, Williams averaged at least 18 points in every season he played, and in 1981 to 82, he reached a career high of 23.4 points per game again. He missed the entire 1980 to 81 season because of a contract dispute costing him a full year during his absolute prime. Even with that lost season, he still finished with 17,949 career points and 5,421 assists. He made 2 All-Star teams, earned 2 All-NBA selections, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2021. He's underrated because he played in Seattle before that market had the national profile it deserved. And losing a full season erased him from some of the recognition he'd built. Maurice Cheeks. Maurice Cheeks was the 36th overall pick in the 1978 draft, selected by the Philadelphia 76ers out of West Texas State University. That draft position doesn't match what he became. He was the starting point guard on the 1982 to 83 76ers team that went 12-1 in the playoffs and won the NBA championship, orchestrating an offense that featured Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Andrew Toney, and Bobby Jones. In the 1983 finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, he scored in double digits and controlled the pace of the entire series. He finished his career with 7,392 assists and 2,310 steals, ranking among the all-time leaders at the time of his retirement. He earned 5 All-Defensive First-Team selections, made 4 All-Star teams, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2018. In 1986 to 87, he averaged 11.5 assists per game, a career high. He also shot over 50% from the field in multiple seasons, despite being a guard, which reflects elite efficiency for his position. He regularly averaged around 13 to 16 points, 7 to 8 assists, and more than 2 steals per game during his prime. He later contributed as a veteran leader for the San Antonio Spurs and New York Knicks. He's underrated because he wasn't a high-volume scorer and because the teammates around him on that 76ers team were more famous. But as the floor general of one of the greatest championship squads ever and one of the best defensive point guards the league has ever seen, his legacy is stronger than most fans realize. Level 1. Scrub. Josh Jackson came into the league with more hype than a Marvel trailer. Ranked number 2 in his high school class, a top 5 pick, and even a solid year at Kansas where he showed flashes of star power. But in the NBA, that flash quickly turned into static. Despite a decent frame for a wing and some athletic upside, his shooting was just plain bad. Sub 30% from deep over his career and shaky decision-making never helped. He bounced from team to team and even dipped into the G League. That all-rookie second-team nod during his debut year felt more like a participation award in hindsight. And when you throw in off-court legal issues and inconsistent development, it's no mystery why his career fizzled out. Stanley Johnson was another high draft pick with a college resume that screamed potential. He was a 4-time state champion in high school and even won the Julius Erving Award at Arizona. Detroit saw him as their future small forward. And then, nothing. He had low shooting percentages, never averaged double-digit points, and struggled to carve out a niche. Teams wanted him to be a defensive stopper, but without an offensive game to match, he became a plug-and-play guy who never stayed plugged in. His latest move to play overseas just confirms he couldn't hold on in the NBA. There was always that hope he'd break out, but it stayed just that, hope. Kevin Knox had a fan base clinging to his potential like it was the last slice of pizza. Coming out of Kentucky as their leading scorer and top 3-point shooter, he looked like a future scoring wing. But then he got to the Knicks, and reality hit like a missed fast break. Sure, he had a few solid nights, including a 31-point outing as a rookie, but his inconsistency was the real star of the show. He shot under 40% from the field and never quite improved in any key area. Whether it was defense, ball handling, or shooting, none of it clicked. He's already played for 5 different teams, which is not a badge of honor when you're that young. He's had chances, just never made them stick. Adam Morrison might be one of the more infamous names on this list. Taken 3rd overall in his draft, with a college career that was loaded with big-time scoring and national buzz, expectations were through the roof. Unfortunately, his NBA game never matched the hype. He had low efficiency, limited athleticism, and couldn't defend his own shadow. Then came the injuries, which only made things worse. He bounced around a bit, won some rings sitting on the bench, but those came more from luck than skill. With barely 160 games under his belt and numbers that looked more like backup minutes than top pick impact, he's a clear example of how college dominance doesn't always translate. Sam Decker had size, hustle, and even decent shooting percentages, but none of it ever led to a consistent NBA role. Drafted in the 1st round, he spent more time moving from roster to roster than actually making an impact. Back issues early in his career derailed his development, and even when healthy, he struggled to stand out. He spent time in the G League, had short stints with different teams, and eventually shifted overseas. Mario Hezonja is the poster child for European hype that didn't survive the NBA grind. Drafted 5th overall, he was billed as a flashy scorer with playmaking potential, but his game was more smoke than fire. He never averaged even 7 points per game for a season, and he lacked the consistency to stay on the floor. Defensively, he didn't bring much either. He had the tools, but couldn't put them together. Over 5 seasons, he barely moved the needle. Troy Williams went undrafted, which already made the climb harder. But even with short flashes of promise, he couldn't break through. His numbers weren't the worst on this list, but they came in very limited action. Just 72 games in total, and none where he was a regular part of a rotation. He had athleticism and could get out in transition, but nothing about his game screamed, "You have to keep this guy." Chris Douglas Roberts had moments, some decent games, even a couple breakout performances. But moments don't make a career. As a second-round pick, the margin for error was slim, and he didn't do enough to stay on the radar. His scoring was inconsistent, his role unclear, and his impact small. He had a hybrid guard-forward frame, but didn't bring elite skill at either. And with limited minutes and frequent moves, his NBA story never got off the ground. He did have a 31-point game once, but so did a lot of players who didn't stick. That kind of sums it up. Demetrius Nichols might be the least known name here, and the numbers show why. Barely played in the league, barely scored when he did, and shot under 30% from the field. It wasn't just that he didn't get minutes. He didn't do anything with the ones he got. He got a look from a few teams, but couldn't hold on. His real career happened overseas, which was the best path after the NBA clearly wasn't going to work. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Level 2. Role player. Doug McDermott has one job and does it well, shooting. He's not racking up assists, grabbing boards, or locking anyone up on defense. But if the bench unit needs someone to stand in the corner and knock down threes, he's the guy. With over 900 made threes and a career shooting clip over 40% from deep, teams trust him to stretch the floor. This past season in Sacramento, he played about 8 minutes a night, still hit over 43% from 3, and somehow continues to stick around without needing to do anything else. That's about as role player as it gets. Derrick Jones Jr. came into the league undrafted, but he's carved out a solid rotation spot by being an athletic wing who plays with energy. He put up just over 10 points a game last season with the Clippers, and even started more than 50 games. He shot over 52% from the field, brought some defense, and filled in whatever role was needed. But he's not a focal point. His production is steady, but not game-changing. And while the minutes are there, the ceiling isn't moving much. Gigi Jackson's still figuring things out. He's young, got potential, but for now, the numbers keep him firmly in this tier. He played under 30 games this past season, started just 3, and shot below 38% overall. His three-point percentage hovered around 33 on under 100 attempts, so it's not like teams are running plays for him. At this stage, he's in the early development bucket, used in small spurts, not asked to do too much, and clearly operating as a backup. Justice Winslow came in with higher expectations, but those days are long gone. His current averages, just over 8 points, 5 rebounds, and under 3 assists, fit right into the role player lane. He's been around for nearly a decade now, offering versatility off the bench. Coaches know he can guard multiple spots, push the ball a little, and fit in when needed. But his shooting percentages and overall production don't point to a bigger role. Derrick Williams was once a number 2 overall pick, but his career path went sideways pretty quickly. Across over 400 games, he averaged under 9 points and 4 rebounds per night. That's not bad, but definitely not what you expect from a high pick. His role shifted over time, from potential star to journeyman forward, bouncing from team to team and settling into bench work. He became that guy who fills in a few minutes, gets a few buckets, and fades back into the rotation without changing the flow of the game. Torrey Craig is the kind of player every team loves having, but nobody's lining up to start. He's been in the league for years, known more for his hustle and defense than anything flashy. This past season, he averaged under 13 minutes a game, but if you stretch it out to per 36 numbers, his production looks decent. Still, he's only playing limited minutes for a reason. He fits into lineups that need defense and toughness, but he's not carrying any offensive load. Classic backup wing duties. Reggie Bullock has bounced around a lot, but always as the same version of himself. Reliable shooter, decent defender, Not much else. He gives you around 7 points a night, hits a few threes, and that's the full package. He's played over 500 games and stuck in the league because teams value spacing. But he's not creating shots, not attacking the rim, and not taking over games. His role has been locked in for years. Come off the bench, hit open shots, and keep the floor balanced. Al-Farouq Aminu has always been known more for his rebounding and defense than any scoring. Over a career spanning more than 700 games, he's hovered around 7 points and 6 rebounds per game. That's useful off the bench, especially for a team needing size and energy at the forward spot. But he's never been leaned on for offense. He's there to fill minutes, help on the glass, and provide some physical presence. Cedi Osman's been a steady bench guy for a few years now. 9 points, 3 boards, and a couple of assists per game tell the story. He'll occasionally start if needed, but most of the time, he's backing up the main wings and offering some shooting and movement. His production is just enough to make an impact off the bench, but never enough to shift the game. Otto Porter Jr. was picked 3rd overall, but his career settled into something more grounded. He's played over 500 games, averaged around 10 points and 5 rebounds, and won a title along the way. Injuries slowed him down, and that's part of why he's no longer viewed as a top option. But when he's healthy, he offers spacing, size, and smart play from the bench. He's not a star, but he knows how to help teams win in short stretches without trying to do too much. That's the role player formula. Level 3. Starter. OG Anunoby has started nearly his entire career since being drafted 23rd overall by Toronto in 2017. This past season, he averaged 18 points, nearly 5 rebounds, and over 2 assists per game, while shooting just under 48% from the field. His size, at 6 feet 7 inches and 232 pounds, helps him guard multiple positions. And while he provides steady offense, his biggest value is on the defense. His career averages back that up. He's not a dominant scorer, but his role as a reliable two-way starter is well defined. He plays major minutes, contributes consistently, but doesn't carry a team. Trey Murphy took a leap with New Orleans. At 6 feet 8 inches and just over 200 pounds, he played a full starting role in the 2024 season and scored over 21 points a game. He added more than 5 rebounds and over 3 assists while shooting over 45% from the field. Early in his career, he was seen as a shooter and defender, but now he's clearly expanded his role. Still, his output sits below star wings. He's not running the offense or making all-star teams, but he is giving the team valuable scoring, spacing, and defense every night. Harrison Barnes has been a starter for over a decade, beginning with the Warriors in 2012. This past season with Sacramento, he averaged just over 12 points, under 4 rebounds, and less than 2 assists per game, while shooting over 50% from the field. His numbers show that he's not there to dominate. He brings veteran stability, stretches the floor, and provides structure to the starting lineup. His career numbers at home games show similar output, consistent but modest. He doesn't make headline, but he rarely hurts the team either. Michael Porter Jr. gives some serious size at small forward. At 6 feet 10 inches and around 218 pounds, he averaged over 18 points and 7 rebounds this past season, shooting above 50% from the floor. His role has grown and his scoring has improved, but he's still not quite the guy teams build around. He fills the lane, hits shots, and rebounds well. His ranking among small forwards in some lists shows promise, but he hasn't pushed into that next tier. He fits the mold of a productive starter with room to grow. Jaden McDaniels plays for Minnesota and stands 6 feet 9 inches. His numbers this past season, 18 points, just over 4 rebounds, and nearly 2 assists per game, show a player who's contributing steadily. He also had a defensive rating around 110, which reflects his value on that end of the floor. While he's not a big name, he plays real minutes and guards tough assignments. His scoring is solid, but not flashy, and he's more known for stopping opponents than lighting up scoreboards. That's exactly the kind of presence a good starting unit needs. Herb Jones has started most of his career games for New Orleans since being drafted in the 2nd round. This past season, he averaged just over 10 points, nearly 4 rebounds, and over 3 assists a night. Add in his solid 3-point shooting and free throw percentages, and he checks off several boxes. He's known for picking up steals and playing smart defense. Offensively, he plays within the system and rarely forces things. He's a steady starter who fills his role but doesn't carry offensive load. Mikal Bridges has one of the most durable records in the league, starting every game season after season. His recent numbers, over 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, are strong across the board. He plays big minutes and rarely misses time. He defends multiple positions and has become a more involved scorer. Still, he's not a top option offensively, and his production, while impressive, is just under that elite line. He does everything well, but nothing quite at the all-star level yet. Kelly Oubre Jr. has had an up and down career, but continues to start and produce. He's 6 feet 8 inches tall and put up over 15 points and 6 rebounds this past season. While his efficiency can vary, he's known for using his athleticism and energy to contribute both ways. He's not always consistent, but his production keeps him in the starting 5. He's clearly not a star, but when healthy, he brings size and scoring to the lineup without being the centerpiece. Dillon Brooks is as fiery as they come, and his role on the court matches that intensity. This past season, he averaged over 19 points per game, though with a field goal percentage around 37%. That tells you what you need to know. He takes on a scoring role, but it comes with inefficiency. He also guards the top wings and plays heavy minutes. His defense gets him on the floor, and his shot volume keeps him there, even if it's not always clean. He's a clear starter who contributes, but not at star level. Bojan Bogdanovic is a veteran wing who brings spacing and scoring. His career numbers, over 15 points per game and nearly 40% from 3, tell the story of a player who fits perfectly in a starting lineup but doesn't drive it. He stretches the floor and scores in bunches, but doesn't rebound or defend at a high level. He's often a starter or the 6th man, depending on roster needs, and fills the offensive gap when teams need shooting without needing touches every trip down. Level 4. All-Star. Gordon Hayward reached his peak in the 2016 to 2017 season when he made his only All-Star appearance. Over a career spanning more than 800 games, he's averaged about 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. His shooting splits have stayed efficient, with around 45% from the field and over 37% from 3. While he was a consistent starter and top scorer during his prime years in Utah, injuries and changing roles later shifted him into more of a secondary option. One All-Star nod over such a long stretch keeps him out of the elite tier, but he's clearly more than just a starter. Brandon Ingram made his one All-Star team after being traded from the Lakers to the Pelicans. He was drafted 2nd overall in 2016 and has averaged nearly 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in his career. He's been the lead option on offense at times and has shown growth as a passer and playmaker, even recording multiple triple-doubles in 2023. In the 2024 season, he posted over 22 points per game. Despite the solid stats and usage, he's yet to make a second All-Star team, which places him firmly in the one-time All-Star range with room to climb. Andrew Wiggins was the #1 overall pick in 2014 and didn't reach All-Star status until the 2021 to 2022 season with Golden State. That year, he posted over 17 points per game and shot well from 3, helping the Warriors win the title. He was a consistent double-digit scorer during his years in Minnesota, but it wasn't until his time with the Warriors that he embraced a more complete two-way role. He's averaged around 16 points and 5 rebounds for his career. 1 All-Star and a title mean he's had impact, but not long-term All-Star production. Luol Deng earned 2 All-Star selections with Chicago, playing a central role on playoff teams in the early 2010s. His career averages of just under 15 points and 6 rebounds over more than 900 games show how steady he was. He also made an all-defensive team in 2012 and regularly took the toughest defensive matchup. He was never a volume scorer, but played big minutes and was known for his endurance and effort. His All-Star appearances were well earned, but his offense didn't hit elite heights, which keeps him in this category. Chris Middleton has been an All-Star 3 times and was a crucial part of Milwaukee's 2021 title run. He's averaged nearly 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists over more than 700 games. He's had big scoring nights, including a 51-point performance, and stepped up in the playoffs with multiple 30-point games. Even with those moments, he's usually played a secondary role, not a franchise-carrying one. His consistency in 3 All-Star selections put him above the one-time group, but not quite at the superstar level. Iggy was an All-Star in 2012 and later became a Finals MVP during the Warriors' first title run in 2015. Early in his career, he was a top option in Philadelphia, averaging solid all-around numbers. As he transitioned into a veteran role, he became known for defense and leadership more than scoring. He's won 4 titles and made multiple all-defensive teams, but with only 1 All-Star appearance, he fits here. a high-impact player without multiple elite individual seasons. Rashard Lewis made 2 All-Star teams and was known for his shooting at the forward spot. He averaged around 15 points and 5 rebounds over a career that spanned more than 1,000 games. He was a key part of Orlando's finals team and later won a title with Miami in 2013. His strength was spacing the floor and scoring in rhythm, not being a primary star. His production and multiple All-Star nods keep him above the starter tier, but not near legend status. Josh Howard had 1 All-Star season averaging close to 20 points and 7 rebounds. His overall career numbers, about 14 points and 6 rebounds, came over just over 500 games. He had a few strong seasons with Dallas, but didn't sustain a long peak. Injuries and reduced roles over time kept him from multiple All-Star runs, but he was clearly more than just a regular starter for a stretch. Danny Granger made the All-Star team the same year he won Most Improved Player and averaged over 25 points per game. That was his best season, finishing top 5 in scoring. He averaged nearly 17 points for his career, but injuries soon cut his production short. He had an elite stretch, but it didn't last long enough to move him into a higher tier. Level 5. Superstar. Carmelo Anthony played 19 NBA seasons and earned 10 All-Star selections along with 6 All-NBA honors. He won the league scoring title in the 2012 season and finished with over 28,000 points, ranking among the top 10 scorers in league history. He averaged more than 22 points per game over his career and won 3 Olympic gold medals. Though he never won an NBA championship, his elite scoring, career longevity, and accolades solidify his place as a superstar. Dominique Wilkins was a 9-time All-Star and the league's scoring champion in the 1985 season. He scored over 26,000 career points and had 11 straight seasons, averaging at least 20 points per game. As the face of the Hawks franchise for more than a decade, he consistently delivered elite offensive production. While he didn't win a championship, his dominance as a scorer places him clearly in the superstar tier. James Worthy won 3 NBA titles with the Lakers and was named Finals MVP in 1988. He made 7 All-Star teams and scored over 16,000 points in his career. Worthy was a vital part of the Lakers' championship runs and played a leading role in key playoff moments. He wasn't the franchise's #1 option, but his consistent All-Star level play and postseason success keep him in the superstar bracket. Paul George is a 9-time All-Star and 6-time All-NBA selection with multiple All-Defensive Team honors. He's averaged over 20 points and 6 rebounds across more than 900 games. Known for his two-way play, he's been a go-to option for both Indiana and the Clippers. While he hasn't reached the finals or won a title, his sustained, high-level performance, versatility, and league-wide respect confirm his superstar status. Paul Pierce made 10 All-Star teams and was named Finals MVP after leading the Celtics to the title in 2008. He scored over 26,000 points and averaged nearly 20 per game across 19 seasons. As Boston's franchise player for more than a decade, he carried the team through multiple eras and consistently produced in both regular season and playoffs. His scoring, clutch performances, and championship run place him firmly in the superstar category. Jimmy Butler has made 6 All-Star teams and 5 All-NBA squads. He's also been named to 5 All-Defensive teams and led deep playoff runs with Miami, including 2 NBA Finals appearances. Butler's career averages, over 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, don't fully capture his playoff impact. He's known for stepping up in the postseason and being the emotional leader of his team. Though he hasn't won a title, his elite two-way game and postseason reputation make him a clear superstar. Paul Arizin was a 10-time All-Star and a 2-time scoring champion in the 50s. He averaged nearly 23 points and over 8 rebounds per game during his career and won an NBA title with the Philadelphia Warriors. Selected to multiple NBA anniversary teams, he was one of the top scorers of his generation. His dominance during his era and long list of accolades firmly established his superstar status. Alex English was an 8-time All-Star and scored over 25,000 points in his career. He led the league in scoring in the early 80s and averaged over 21 points per game across nearly 1,200 games. As the leading scorer in Nuggets history, he maintained consistent offensive production for more than a decade. His smooth scoring style and sustained excellence make him a clear fit in this tier. Bernard King made 4 All-Star teams and won the scoring title in 1985. averaging almost 33 points per game. He had multiple seasons averaging over 28 points and totaled more than 19,000 points for his career. Injuries cut short his peak, but during his best seasons, he was one of the league's most unstoppable scorers. His high-level production and Hall of Fame career confirm his superstar classification. Jason Tatum has already made 6 All-Star teams and 5 All-NBA teams, including 4 first-team selections. He led Boston to the 2024 championship and set the All-Star game scoring record with 55 points. His averages, over 23 points, 7 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists, have risen every year. In 2025, he posted nearly 27 points per game. With consistent All-NBA recognition and team success, Tatum already belongs in the superstar tier, with potential to reach even higher. Level 6. Legends. Kevin Durant's been in the league since 2007, and honestly, he's been the league's worst-kept cheat code ever since. He's averaged more than 27 points per game over more than 1,100 games, and did it while staying shockingly efficient for someone who takes as many tough shots as he does. 2 championships with the Warriors? Sure. 2 finals MVPs? Got those too. 4 scoring titles and 4 Olympic golds? Add them to the resume. And here's the thing. He's not just racking up honors like it's a grocery list. He's done it over multiple decades and on multiple teams. That kind of sustained production while being the #1 option and global face isn't just superstar stuff. It's legend level, period. Then there's Julius Erving, who had the audacity to redefine what cool looked like in basketball. Erving didn't just bring flash, he brought results. 2 ABA titles, 2 ABA MVPs, and then kept the party going in the NBA with a championship in 1983 and an MVP in 1981. But forget the trophies for a second. His actual style of play changed how small forwards played the game. He made above the rim play not just exciting, but expected. His dunks weren't just posters, they were blueprints for the future. He did all this while being the best player on almost every team he was on. There's no "he was carried" conversation here, he carried. That mix of dominance, innovation, and actual hardware makes his legend status airtight. Next up, Kawhi Leonard, quiet off the court, violent on it. This guy's resume is basically a masterclass in timing. He wins when it counts. He's got 2 championships, one with the Spurs in 2014 and one with the Raptors in 2019, and was named Finals MVP both times. That's not common. That's elite company. But Kawhi's not just about finals highlights. He's one of the most feared perimeter defenders of the past 2 decades. He's won Defensive Player of the Year twice, and when he locks in, it looks like the court shrinks. It's rare to find someone this dominant on both ends of the floor, and when it happens, it usually leads to greatness. For Kawhi, it led to legend status. He's done less talking and more proving, and the results don't lie. Now let's talk about Elgin Baylor, who was doing 27 points and 13 rebounds per game when most guys were still trying to figure out what the wing position was even for. Baylor's stats don't just stand out, they float above the rest of his generation. This is the guy who dropped 71 points in a game back in 1960. He also put up 61 in a finals game, which is still a record. He was named to the All-NBA First Team 10 times and made 11 All-Star appearances. And yeah, the championship didn't come during his playing years, but Baylor's individual dominance and innovation still set the standard. He brought athleticism and dynamic play to a position that desperately needed it. Without Baylor, the entire shape of the small forward role looks different. He was years ahead of his time, and legends usually are. Then you've got Scottie Pippen, the most dangerous #2 in league history. 6 championships with the Bulls, 7 All-Star appearances, and more defense than most full teams. He made the NBA All-Defensive First Team 8 times. 8! He could guard anyone, from point guards to power forwards, and made life miserable for everyone in between. But it's not just the hardware, it's how he elevated one of the most iconic dynasties. His numbers might not scream volume scorer, but his impact was total. 6 rings, a finals level wingman, and a defensive engine. That's legend material. Let's move to John Havlicek. 13 All-Star selections, 8 titles. Never lost in the finals. Never. Havlicek was relentless. He played nearly 1,300 games and put up over 20 points a night with consistency. He was named Finals MVP in 1974 and did it while contributing in every category: scoring, rebounding, assisting. He defended at a high level too, making all defensive teams repeatedly. But his biggest flex? Being the constant on a Celtics team that was always in the title mix. When they needed a bucket or a stop or just someone to run forever, Havlicek delivered. That blend of production and longevity puts him in a class all his own. Then there's Rick Barry, who once scored 64 in a game and wasn't even sweating it. Barry's career averages? Over 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. He was a problem on every level, in every league. He won a title with Golden State in 1975 and another in the ABA. He made 8 All-Star teams and was still dropping buckets into his late 30s. Barry's scoring ability was elite, but it was also timely. He was never just piling on stats. He was doing it when it mattered. That ability to perform in big moments while consistently producing made him more than just a scorer. It made him a legend. These guys didn't just win, they rewrote the playbook. They brought unique skill sets, elevated their teams, and defined eras. Whether it was Durant's silky dominance, Irving's aerial artistry, Kawhi's two-way excellence, Baylor's scoring brilliance, Pippen's all-around engine, Havlicek's consistency, or Barry's fearless offense, they each left the game different than they found it. Level 7. GOATed. This level is reserved for the absolute top of the food chain. Not just all-timers, these guys are in their own category. They didn't just dominate the game, they warped the entire history of basketball around their careers. The game didn't stay the same after these two. It adjusted to them. Let's start with LeBron James. He's been in the league since 2003, and the fact that he's still producing into his 40s isn't just rare, it's historic. He's played in more than 1,500 games and averaged over 27 points, more than 7 rebounds, and over 7 assists a night. And he's not padding stats. He's making history. He passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, and the scary part is that he's still adding to that lead. He's won 4 championships and grabbed 4 finals MVPs along the way. He's also a 4-time league MVP. And let's not forget the over 20 All-Star selections and over 20 All-NBA team appearances. That alone would seal most players into legend status. But what lifts LeBron into GOAT territory is that he's done all of this across multiple franchises, different eras, different rules, and different teammates. Then he built a powerhouse with the Heat, then went back to Cleveland and brought a title there. And after that, took the Lakers back to the top. That's 4 different championship level runs, all with him as the main engine. And we haven't even touched on the Olympic hardware. 3 gold medals to go along with all the pro accolades. His resume isn't just complete, it's a brick wall of achievement. He leads all players in minutes played, and he's near the top in assists, rebounds, steals. You name it. He's not just a scorer, he's a creator, a rebounder, a defender when needed, and a leader. He's also played every position on the court at some point and did it well. He doesn't just adapt to the game has to adapt to him. That kind of versatility and consistent excellence is extremely rare. That's why you can't just drop him in the legend box. His dominance lasted across decades. He owns too many all-time records, and his influence goes beyond the court. He's GOATed. Simple as that. Now enter Larry Bird. While LeBron brings size and explosiveness, Bird brought a level of basketball intelligence and competitiveness that few could match. Bird came into the league in the late 70s and immediately changed the fortunes of the Celtics. In his rookie year, the team improved their win total by 32 games. That's not a boost, that's a transformation. And he followed it up with 3 NBA championships and 2 finals MVPs. He also pulled off the nearly impossible, 3 straight league MVP awards from 1984 through 1986. Only a handful of players in league history can say that. He averaged more than 24 points, 10 rebounds, and over 6 assists per game across nearly 900 contests. He could shoot, pass, rebound, defend, and hit clutch shots with a straight face. He also represented the United States on the legendary Dream Team in 1992, rounding out a career that was shorter than others but no less dominant. He made 12 All-Star teams, was named to All-NBA First Team 9 times, and even after retirement, kept shaping the league as a coach and executive. That's not just influence, it's legacy. And here's where Bird separates himself. He's the only person in the league history to win MVP as a player, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year. That triple threat status isn't just rare, it's unheard of. He did more than win games. He changed how the small forward spot was played. And even with back issues, in a shorter window than most GOATs, Bird's level of excellence never dipped. These two didn't just dominate their eras, they defined them. They didn't have weaknesses, only responsibility. And they handled every one of them like future Hall of Famers from day one. That's why they're not just legends, they're GOATed. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.